kind of moved in lockstep.
Alan's fame means that he can no longer casually drop into the festival to dole out wings with the Double Dubs crew, as he did in 2019. But anytime Alan wants wings, when the Double Dubs truck rolls into Buffalo, Weitzel finds a way to get some to the quarterback. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by clicking on the daily newsletter button at cowboystatedaily.com. I'm Wendy Core for Cowboy State Daily.
We said we'd never give in to a meltdown.
Okay.
And we'd never babysit with a screen. We said we'd never let the toys take over.
Mariella.
Never leave the house looking, well, and never let them out of our sight.
Skylar, come here.
Cars get hot fast, and kids can be at risk. Before you leave the car, always stop, look.
Good morning. It's Monday, September 15, and it's the Cowboy State Daily Show with Jay. Good to have you along with us as we're halfway through September now. How time flies. I'm going to double check, make sure we're coming out on the homepage. Yes, we are. Okay. Phew. Yeah, that's some Monday technical things, but I think we good now. Here's stories we're following today over the weekend. California goes terminal. Wait a minute. That can't be right. California. Oakland. Yeah. Oakland is a weird city. I don't know what's going on with Oakland. Everybody wants to get out of Oakland, including the Raiders, all the sports teams. Oakland is like the bastard child of San Francisco. It's not as cool. If you're from Oakland, you never say you're from Oakland. You say the Bay Area. So people will think that you might be potentially from San Fran. But there's a big difference. When you cross the Golden Gate, there's a huge difference. Coal in Oakland. If coal was going to be exported anywhere from California, it would not be Los Angeles. It would not be San Fran, but it might be Oakland. Oakland seems right for coal. Like if it's Christmas and you get your gifts under the tree, San Francisco gets a shiny new bike. Los Angeles gets Play-Doh. And Oakland gets a bag of coal. That sounds so right when you think about the cities in California. Oakland should be embracing Wyoming coal in order to export it out to Asia. They should be all about it. I have a feeling Oakland's GDP, PDG, whatever it is, gross national product, their economic state in Oakland has got to be bad. I'm sure the whole state operates in the red. How could they not want a business venture? That's why they're hemorrhaging money in California. But Oakland should be all about doing coal, making some money off this somehow, taxing it. I don't know. The state Supreme Court, California State Supreme Court, I would love to see who's on the state Supreme Court in California. Do you think they're all got long hair and Grateful Dead t-shirts? I picture the or the California State Supreme Court is being totally different. You know, Wyoming, any other state, they'd have the robes and the gavels. In California, instead of the gavel, they probably got a bong. And instead of the black robes, they're probably rocking Grateful Dead t-shirts. That's the California State Supreme Court. They're going to rule sometime by August 1st. Or October 1st. That's coming up. 2 weeks. They have about 2 weeks to make this big decision on the latest challenge by Oakland. Oakland just will not give up this fight. I shouldn't be spending so much time in this. We're supposed to just hit the main highlights of the stories and move on, but Oakland can't stop opposing. What's wrong with my Zoom now? Oakland cannot stop opposing the coal, the idea that Wyoming will ship its coal by rail to Oakland, and then from Oakland they'll put it on boats and it'll head to wherever, Southeast Asia. Whoever wants it. Japan wants it. And Oakland says, not for 1 minute do we want Wyoming coal sitting around here. It's dirty. It's stinky, dusty. Meanwhile, you can say the same about Oakland in general. Oakland is not the jewel of California when it comes to cities. And I'm not getting down on California. There's some beautiful places in California. San Mateo, San Luis Obispo. LA's got its charm. Hollywood, San Fran, City by the Bay. Journey wrote a song about it. There's some fine places in Palm Springs. Fine California place. Oakland's not one of them. Oakland's so mid. So Oakland is like coal. They should want coal. Anyway, moving on. We're going to talk to and we're going to visit with the Burnett family. They're running over 6,000 dairy cows in Wyoming. And if you think that's a lot, it is. That's a huge operation. 6,000 cows they got to milk. Don't you have to milk cows like twice a day? At least once a day. 6,200 cow mega dairy in Carpenter, Wyoming. We'll check in with the Burnett's. People thought they were crazy back when mad cow disease were running around and nobody wanted a cow. You could go out and find a cow and put a harness on it and bring it home. Cows was cheap. And the Burnett family said, we're going to start a huge dairy farm. And people thought they were crazy. Look at them now. They're making cheese for Pizza Hut with these cows. Yeah, Renee Jean has the story. We'll look into that. Pretty fun. In Cheyenne, you're being constantly hassled by door-to-door salesmen, even though you got a no solicitation sign. You're probably getting phone calls all the time about the hail damage. We can come over and inspect your roof, they promise. They even call me here. I'm a renter. They call me. They say, we're going to check out your roof for free. I said, have at it, man. Yeah. I invite them over. I'm not the decision maker on that, though, when you tell me it needs replaced. But come on over. Go check out my roof. Have fun with that. There's a lot of people are coming door to door despite your signage saying, get off my lawn, despite your, what's his face? Gran Torino, get off my doorstep. Cheyenne residents, I've had it with solicitors. Mark Hines has a bunch of stories regarding wildlife, of course. The advantages of canning meat. Would you eat canned meat? I wouldn't. I wouldn't even can it. Would not occur to me. You got to eat meat like pretty soon. Put it in the freezer maybe, and within a year. If it's been in the freezer for a year, nope. But that's me. Supposedly you can can meat. No refrigeration necessary. It'll last for 3 years. You want to eat some? I mean, maybe if the apocalypse happened, maybe if the world went to, zombies were out there feeding on you and I, one of those scenarios, I would be desperate enough to eat canned meat. Until then, I don't think so. A hunting influencer has been hit with felony charges, raises questions about social media and hunting. Those two should never be mentioned in the same sentence. These influencers are, I'm gonna sound like the boomer but I've had it with the influencers. If you want to, do a get ready with me. What do they call those? If you want to be an Alex Earl, get ready with me. GRWM. If you're going to do one of those, okay, I can see where if you got if you've had a boob job and you look good on camera, you can be a TikTok influencer. You can be on Insta and you do a get ready with me. Here's the makeup I use. And you get free makeup from some company that wants to have their lipstick on you, an influencer. I get that. What about these hunter influencers? They go out and they share their kill. I think they miss the sole purpose of hunting. Hunting should be done for sustainable, put meat on the table kind of thing. And there's a lot of zen to it. There's a lot of reason why you would hunt, get out there. But I am like 50-50 on trophy hunting. It just gives me a bad taste. I don't like it. It's unnatural to remove the best of a species. When you trophy hunt for the biggest, baddest bull elk, you're taking out the genes that you want to stay in the gene pool. It's not how wolves would do things. They would take the weak, the old, the young. But if you survive to a certain point and become the biggest, baddest bull elk on the block, and then you are put in somebody's trophy den, it's not natural. It's not how you should manage wildlife. I don't know. I get, I want people to be able to hunt. That's cool. But posting it's the Instagram thing. It's hunting influencers. You certainly have to do it legally. If you're going to brag on what you shot, if you're going to take that shot, that photo of your kill, you better have a tag for it, and you better have shot it legally. And the problem is these influencers are driven so hard by the need to make that next post so everybody can share their glory. It's almost as if, it didn't happen if you didn't post it kind of thing. It's the same reason people bring their phones to a concert. You get a chance to see the Rolling Stones, Elton John, whatever, and you miss the whole concert because you're videoing it through your phone. You're watching it in a 2-inch screen when right in front of you is Elvis come back to life. You missed the whole thing because you got to post it. You got to have it on. It didn't happen if it's not on your phone. These influencer hunters, the hunt didn't happen if they don't post it. So this guy's in trouble. Hunting influencer slapped with wildlife crime-related felony charges. Mark Hines has that story. What are moose doing up at 13,000 feet above sea level? That's too high for a moose. Moose don't usually get that high. They're more sensible than that. Moose usually down in the bottomlands where the willers are. They're eating the willows. They're hanging out in the swampy, marshy areas. What's the moose doing at 13,000 feet? I have an idea that Mark Hines did not include in his story, but he asked some experts why was a moose spotted at 13,000 feet above sea level, way up in the mountains. That's odd for a moose. Meet Butch Stanko, a Wyoming maverick who has done a lot of stuff. Butch is no longer with us, but back in the day, you did not want to play Butch in a hand of poker. He was gambler, poker player. He's a big-time rancher. Interesting dude. He is the reason. This guy, Butch Stanko from Wyoming, is the reason why you can't drive as fast as you want in Montana. I always thought it had to do with the feds imposing their will on the state of Montana, which for many years, as we all know, had the speed limit signs, speed reasonable and prudent. There's really such a thing. That was the speed limit in the state highways back in the day. That was known as the Montana bond, the Autobahn. Montana, but speeds reasonable and prudent. There was no actual speed limit. You could drive as fast as you was prudent and was reasonable. Does that sound wishy-washy gray area? It did to Stanko. Butch Stanko drove 126 miles an hour. He got a ticket for it. He said, "What are you talking about? There ain't no speed limit in Montana. It's reasonable and prudent." "That's what I was doing," said Stanko. That thing went all the way to the Supreme Court. It was finally decided that Montana has to put a number on the speed limit signs or nobody's going to be able to. Everybody out of the pool. Way to go, Stanko. You ruined it for everyone. We could be driving as fast as we want in Montana if it wasn't for Butch Stanko. That story from David Madison, who will join us later, and that should be some fun. It's the most badass woman you've ever heard of. In the 1930s, women didn't do stuff, man. In 1931, women were barefoot in the kitchen cooking, and that's it. That was the prevailing thought anyway. There were a few rebels. You had Amelia Earhart, wanted to prove she could fly an airplane, and you had this 20-year-old Sheridan woman who decided she was going to drive. Women can't drive. And she was going to drive from Berlin, last I checked, that's in Germany, to Moscow. Now, back in 1931, the roads were, she said the roads were pretty bad, actually. She had driven on Wyoming roads. She said Wyoming roads were bad, but there were stretches from Berlin to Moscow, which is 1,131 miles. Back in 1931, she said there were stretches that were really bad. And she's this blonde 20-year-old from Wyoming, driving from Berlin to Moscow. You think that turned some heads? It sure did. And she said she had to forage for food at times, sleep in haystacks, and just did it on a whim. Traveled with two German dudes who both were in love with her. And the reason they both went is because the other guy couldn't trust the other guy being alone with her. He's like, "I'm coming." She didn't end up marrying either of them, but we're going to meet the 20-year-old Sheridan woman who drove from Berlin to Moscow just cuz. That's crazy. And we're going to do a whole bunch more. First, let me get a weather forecast to see where we're standing today. A little bit rainy where I am, and I think the rest of the state going to see it as well. Casper, chance of rain. 78 the high today. Riverton, you'll see rain in the morning. 77 the high. Slight chance of rain sometime in the early day, Evanston. Otherwise, mostly sunny, 68. Green River, early morning. Rain, perhaps, with a high of 73. Pinedale, rain, probably before 3. Otherwise, breezy, 63 the high. Alpine, you won't get much more than the 67 for a high today with rain. Du Bois, chance of rain up until about 2. It'll be mostly sunny after that, 62 the high. Jackson, rain up until 2-ish. And then turning sunny, high 64 with some wind gusts. Going to feel chilly. I have a wedding to DJ today, and it's going to be chilly for these folks. Although they're from Milwaukee, they probably won't think nothing of it. Chance of rain in Thermop, mostly sunny, 76 otherwise. Cody, maybe rain, 71. Buffalo, chance of rain mainly after 1 o'clock, mostly sunny, 73 when it's not raining. Sheridan, maybe a chance of rain afternoon with high 77 today. Gillette, I think you're the hot spot. No, Torrington is 81 in Gillette with a chance of afternoon rain. Torrington, 87 degrees today, but a chance of rain in the afternoon. Douglas, slight chance of rain afternoon, otherwise sunny, 82. Cheyenne, you may get a shower today. Slight chance of 1. Sunny and 78 otherwise. Laramie, maybe. Quick rain shower. High 73. Rawlins, chance of rain afternoon, but mostly sunny, breezy. Otherwise, 72 the high. Let's take our first break of the show. The Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
Wyoming is a big state. There's so much ground to cover, so many stories to tell. But the Cowboy State Daily News team is up to the challenge. I'm Wendy Core, host of Cowboy State Daily Video News. Whether it's politics in Cheyenne, energy issues in the Powder River Basin, or grizzlies in Yellowstone, our talented crew of experienced journalists are out there finding and telling the stories that matter. What's the best restaurant in Du Bois? Renee Jean checks it out. What's the most recent Supreme Court decision mean to our everyday lives? Claire McFarland explains. How is the upcoming elk hunting season shaping up? Mark Hines lets us know. Every day, I talk to the reporters who are covering the topics, issues, and people that are important to Wyomingites, and in our daily newscast, I bring you those stories. Tune into the Cowboy State Daily Video Newscast every morning, only on CowboyStateDaily.com. This is the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
Hi. I'm your retirement fear. But don't be scared. You're still in pre-retirement.
Does that mean I have more time to plan?
Precisely. Here, this is pretirement.org.
Retirement savings options? Potential tax breaks?
Ooh,
This isn't scary. I'm doing it.
you got this.
Visit thisispretirement.org for free resources to help you customize your action plan.
Come on! Go, Diane! Yeah, keep it going! Yeah! Go, honey!
If you love them enough to drive an hour to cheer them on as they get beat 11-0 in the rain, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Throw that ball, Diane! Woo! You got this!
I was a technical sergeant, E6.
I served in Vietnam in 1969.
I am a U.S. Army veteran.
Have you ever helped a fellow veteran?
Of course.
Yes.
Try to always be there for each other.
I do my best reaching out to my brothers and sisters in arms.
Have you ever asked for help yourself?
It's always tough, right? I can't say that I have. I mean,
If you don't have someone to kind of help you guide those thoughts, it can be really bad.
Eventually, you just can't deal with it on your own.
I guess it's a part of the military too, right? Service before self.
It was drilled in, service before self.
And you start to question, maybe people would be better off without me, When you realize that you're not alone, once you take that first step, there's so much support.
Welcome back. Where to start here? Let's, Bill Sniffin's story about the Bighorn Canyon. That's on my bucket list. I have got to get there. Got to get there. How about Mark Hines' story about poachers? New study reveals that a great majority of wildlife poachers get away with it. Of course they do. For every case you hear that we find out about, like this guy's caught shooting something illegally, lets it rot, whatever, saws off the horns, or that's the great minority. A new study released by Boone and Crockett Club, that's the hunting outfit, they claim 96% of poachers get away with it in the United States, to the cost of about an estimated $1.4 billion in lost revenue. Overall cost impact to states. Wyoming doesn't keep any such data. Mark Hines reached out to Game and Fish Director Amanda Fry. She's the spokesperson, sorry. Director is Angie Bruce. Amanda Fry said, I'm not aware of any particular data that we keep track of regarding how many cases go unsolved, but it's way more than cases go solved. I don't know if it's 96% to 4%, but that's discouraging to learn. So many poaching cases are never solved. Remember that mass? I hate when you get the mass poaching. Back in the day, Mark Hines says there were poachers who shot an animal illegally, usually out of season or in the wrong area. Because back, whenever you call back in the day, I don't know, 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, people were just shooting animals to feed their family. And many of them probably ignoring whatever the Game of Fish said you could shoot when. They were like, whatever, we own animals, the public, and if we need to feed our family, we're going to poach. That was kind of the typical, stereotypical poaching case from 80 years ago, 70 years ago. Now it's just yahoos who, I don't know what motivates them to poach. Maybe they're hunter influencers. Oh, it's just so bad to be an influencer because everything you do is to show off to other people. Everything. When you're an influencer, what you do is to show off you to others. That's all. That's your job. Really? That's your life. When you're an influencer. Now, I expect TikTok influencers to be 19 years old, female, and vapid. That I can understand that kind of influencer until she grows up. She's going to influence on social and call that an occupation, a job. And you can call it a job because, oh my, I see the numbers they're supposedly earning. I don't know where the money comes from, but some legit influencers, a 20-something hot babe with a large enough breast size, their influencing can really pay some bills, man. Okay, I get that. But all the rest of the influencers and even some of the blondes, are just, all you're doing is showing off. Like, I got a show. I wouldn't call myself an influencer. And especially if you're like this hunter, if you're a hunter, I'm an influencer hunter. Me, George, you, Jane, you watch me go hunt stuff. Really? That's your job. Anyway, I was going to find the mass poaching incident. That was never solved, as far as I know. Haven't heard a peep out of that. When somebody shot a dozen antelope, shot outside of Kemmer. That goes back in April. That's not putting meat on the table, poaching. That's just going on a shooting spree. Another story from Mark Hines. Top game warden says massive Wyoming poaching case was about ego, not money. Most of the poaching stuff you see nowadays, in Wyoming anyway, are people shooting animals just to shoot animals. Like, I don't know what their motivation is, but it's not sustainable hunting. It's not to put food on the table. It's just to kill stuff. I can't find that one that was down near Fontenelle. That wasn't that long ago. That was also this spring. And I was hoping they would catch that person. I can't remember. But Mark Hines had that story. And Mark Hines has the story today. Boone and Crockett Club say that 96% of the poaching cases go untried, unsolved. You know who it was that started the tip line? Wyoming has a tip line now. And it's hunters, it's in your best interest to rat out fellow hunters who aren't doing it right, because they're stealing from you. If you're a hunter and you witness a potential poaching case, call the tip line. Call Game and Fish. It's up to you, hunters. You're the ones out there. There are not enough game wardens. That's the problem. Mark Hines has that in his story. There's not enough people out there. Wyoming is huge. And there's not nearly enough game wardens that are going to catch poachers. So it's up to hunters to be the first line of defense. It's in ethical, legal hunters' best interest to promptly report suspicious activities, said Boone and Crockett spokesperson Jody Stemler. Yes, it is. It's up to you. Wyoming, nobody had a tip line until New Mexico thought to launch one. They were the first state in the United States to put a 800 number in, a tip line, allowing callers to remain anonymous, possible eligibility for reward. New Mexico did that back in the 1970s. And these call-in tips in New Mexico were pretty effective. And now other states fell in line and started adding their own. Retired Game and Fish game warden Benji Brown said he was not surprised by B&C's estimate of only 4% of poaching cases go detected. He worked in the Rawlins area. He had to cover 4,000 square miles, often by himself. That's impossible to think that you're going to be effective stopping poaching. Got to have other hunters out there helping you, and we got to have more game wardens, more Joe Pickett's. Why do poachers do it? That's a sub-headline in Mark Hines' story. Good question. Why do poachers do it? And Benji, the retired game and fish officer, speculates that decades ago, a significant amount of poaching was done by people just trying to get food. Like I said, yes. Recently, the shift is towards people breaking the rules for fun and for trophies. Boone and Crockett reported that trophy poaching for personal reasons is apparently the most common motive. So there are two reasons you'll see poaching. One is some madman is just shooting and wasting animals. And you'll find evidence. You'll find dead, wounded, mutilated pronghorn mule deer just laying there shot and left to rot. That's some lunatic that's likely on a course for prison, or it's people that shoot a trophy because they can't resist. They may not have a buck or bull tag, maybe not for that area where they find one, and they don't care. They don't care about any of the rules. And they're going to bring home something to put up on the wall of their den, no matter what. Those are the two reasons. Neither of those reasons wash. Neither of those reasons are good. Whether you're just some lunatic who wants to kill stuff or you don't care about rules, rules don't pertain to you. Maybe you're influencing community. You need some more hits. You need some more likes. And you need some more subscribers. So you're going to shoot that big bull elk. There can be nothing good that comes from being a hunting influencer. Back to that story. I mean, what is the good? Where's the upside? To share your kill. This should be a completely private thing. If hunting done right, you should hunt with respect for the prey, respect for the animal. You should use the animal after the hunt. Some hunters go as far as thanking the animal for giving his life, all that jazz. But at the very least, you got to have some respect for yourself and for your prey. And hunting influencers, just by definition, are not hunting right. IMO, in my opinion. You cannot be a hunting influencer. And this guy who is in trouble, Ryan Lampers, he's been slapped with wildlife crime-related charges, accused of taking a trophy class mule deer buck, has sparked an ethics debate in Wyoming, says Mark Hines. I'm sharing a photo. You can go see the story on the Cowboy State Daily. That's Ryan Lampers. The photo you can find on his social media. He likes to put his kills out there on socials so his crowd, his peoples, can cheer the latest accomplishment of somebody called the Stealthy Hunter. Lampers charged September 2nd with 2 felonies for alleged grand theft by deception, unlawful killing and possession of trophy class mule deer buck, according to Meat Eater, which is a website. Also faces 6 misdemeanor charges, including allegedly lying about where he killed a wolf, about where he killed a mountain lion in the wrong designated hunt area. The pressures to do things wrong when you're a hunter influencer are enormous because everything you do is grandiose. Everything you do is over the top. Everything, you're hunting for the wrong reasons. Lampers said it began innocently enough. He said, I was just, somebody was kind of good at it. I started off, I was just a pretty good hunter. Next thing I know, I got a following. I would post photo, and who doesn't? Everybody put, and I think that's even wrong, don't you? To post a photo of you and your trophy kill on Facebooks. Is that okay? I don't like it. Why? I don't need to know what you shot. And people that are anti-hunting don't want to see your bloody carcass. I mean, I'm not anti-hunting, and it's going to appear that way by the time I'm done talking. I'm not anti-hunting. I don't want to see it on Facebook. You don't have to brag about everything you do on social media. It's as if these events in your life didn't happen unless someone else sees it. Whether it's the meal you ate, we had to go through a whole period where nobody could sit down to dinner without sharing your spread with everybody else who didn't care. Guess what? Nobody cares what you had for dinner. And guess what? The majority of people don't care what your success rate in hunting. They don't care what you shot, where. You share that with your buddies at the bar. Don't bring the wolf and don't bring the Gila monster. There's a story today. The crap people bring to the bar, man. Don't bring an animal to the bar. Game warden busted illegal reptile dealers by taking Gila monsters to the bar. A retired federal game warden helped bust the bizarre 1970s heyday of reptile trade because somebody brought one of their venomous Gila monsters to a bar. Don't bring animals to the bar. It's the beginning of trouble. Back to the topic. Do we need to share? Should there be hunting influencers, which is basically your post of your animal that you killed on Facebook times 1,000,000, times to the nth degree? Everybody posts their. Why? That should be your own private event. If you like to hunt, that's great. Do your thing, man. Not everybody needs to see what you ate last night or what you shot this morning. 307-999-TALK, 307-999-8255. Text and tell me I'm wrong. Like it's cool. You think it's okay to post? I don't understand why everybody's got to share every dang thing. Do you feel that small? Do you feel that unimportant that your life has to be shared on social? Oh, I did this today. I did that today. I shot this yesterday. We don't care. And certainly hunting influencers where you want to share that, not with just your circle of friends and Facebook. Okay, here I got 30 friends on Facebook. Most of them are hunters, and I'd like to share this. Oh, look, I got this bull elk. He's pretty big. Biggest one I ever got. Okay. But I'm talking about social influencers. They got thousands of subscribers, and they're just waiting to see what you killed next. I don't like hunting influencers. I think it leads to trouble when you're under pressure to wow your people. Like an influencer, the other influencers that are just showing off fashion or makeup tips, that's fine. Maybe you're doing somebody some good. But a hunting influencer, how many things can you kill before people are like, well, that's a pretty good bull elk, but can you shoot a bigger one? And they're going to need, we need a new post. We need one every month. We got to have fresh content. So sooner or later, you're going to have to be legal hunting. All right, I'm getting too worked up about it. It's time for a break. Cowboy State Daily Show with Jay continues after this quick timeout.
Want to stay in touch with what's happening around Wyoming? I'm Wendy Core, host of the Cowboy State Daily video newscast. From Mountain View to Upton, from Jackson to Cheyenne, our reporters are out there finding and telling the stories that matter. Every day, I talk to the talented journalists who are covering the topics, issues, and people that are important to Wyomingites. And in our daily newscast, I bring you their stories. Tune in to Cowboy State Daily video news every morning, only on cowboystatedaily.com.
Wyoming is a big state. There are so many stories to tell, and here at Cowboy State Daily, we pride ourselves in bringing those stories to you every day. I'm Riley Strand, videographer and production assistant for Cowboy State Daily Video News. Every day, host Wendy Core and I talk to the experienced journalists who are covering the topics, issues, and people that are important to Wyomingites. And in our daily newscast, we bring you their stories. Tune in to Cowboy State Daily Video News every morning, only on cowboystatedaily.com.
You're listening to the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Can you see anything different as a pill? No. You don't know?
Fentanyl is being mixed into everything now. There's only one thing that will save somebody's life. That is naloxone nasal spray.
Fentanyl, it's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
Why would drug dealers put a lethal dose of fentanyl in drugs if they know it's so harmful?
Really just all about the money.
I just didn't realize that one pill could change your whole life.
More kids should know.
In today's digital world, it's hard to know who to trust. Your local TV and radio stations bring you the facts. Misinformation and deep fakes flood social media, but broadcasters deliver verified and accurate news. For news, emergency updates, sports, and entertainment, turn to your local stations. Text TV to 52886 and urge Congress to support the vital local journalism broadcasters provide.
Did you hear?
Todd's in the hospital.
Who's Todd? He got a collapsed lung from vaping. He thought it was cool.
Not cool.
Promise you won't vape, Emma. It can lead to a lifelong addiction, and we can't be friends if your lungs collapse.
Bogus.
Wacky sitcom teens aren't the best people to talk to your kid about vaping.
Hey, you got a minute?
You are. Start the conversation with your child about vaping today.
Welcome back, Cowboy State Daily Show. I shouldn't be so upset about hunting influencers. What I'm really upset about is this story that's getting undercovered. And I know there was the Charlie Kirk shooting that kind of grabbed the spotlight for at least 2-3 days and over the weekend, but kind of coinciding with that event, at least timing wise, was the stabbing death of this Ukrainian refugee that came to the United States. And it's just been sort of swept under the rug, sort of forgotten. We're going to have a special guest on later today to talk more about it. You want to put a sign up saying justice for so-and-so. How about justice for Irina Zartusky, Ukrainian, who escaped Ukraine because Russia's bombing the crap out of her country. She's like, I'm getting out of here. Came to the United States only to be stabbed to death by some lunatic for no reason. And the guy who stabbed her, it's all on video. You can watch the stabbing. No one helped her. Nobody. She bled to death in the train, crying. She knew she was dying. This guy stabbed her repeatedly and then walked off the train, walked out of the shot of the video, surveillance video. Nobody sitting next to her did anything. Even after. I can understand you're scared to confront the stabber. But nobody on the train even came to her aid after she stabbed. They just sat there minding their own business. And she died. Right there on the train, bled to death. That, to me, tells a story of a sick society. What's wrong with us? I mean, you have isolated people that have been indoctrinated, like the shooter of Charlie Kirk, who, and we'll have a guest on later today who speculates there might be more to it than just one guy who started going into a dark place. There's already the conspiracy theories. Was this a hit, targeted hit? Is this politically motivated, etc.? I don't know if I'm ready to go down that road, but we will have a guest on later today that'll talk about how the Charlie Kirk shooting has eerie similarities with other shootings in the past that you wonder, who really pulled the trigger? Who ordered this hit, this weird? All right. We'll entertain that kind of idea later. But this, to me, is worse because the stabber is a guy who should not even be out of prison. This guy's got a rap sheet longer than whatever. This is a violent criminal who should not even be out on the loose. And then what does it say about society when we can't keep criminals in prison? We can't keep our own people safe. And then nobody doing anything is really disturbing. Really disturbing. We'll talk about that. This happened in North Carolina. And we have a guest coming on. So, yeah, that's worse even than the hunter influencers. And we did have a text, somebody chiming in saying, maybe we should take these unethical hunters and put them into a Hunger Games scenario. Maybe. That's a thought. I think the best solution for criminals, people who break the law, to a bad degree, but even medium degree, is I think that one movie had it right. Escape to New York. Escape from New York. Whatever it is with Jake Plissken. Escape. I think we should make New York City just one big prison. Escape. I mean, it practically is already. Right? New York City. I mean, it's an island. We could easily put razor wire walls around all of New York City. In fact, the beauty of this, once we make a prison, because the idea is we would just put people in a prison and they could do whatever they wanted. They could keep on killing and raping and doing drugs. In fact, we would fly in drugs and drop them. We would use drones. We would drone in all the drugs they want. They could keep doing the things they were doing that got them put in prison. So we're not infringing on any of their liberties and rights. But they would do it to each other and leave the rest of law-abiding society alone. Escape from New York, 1981 movie. They had it right. Make New York City one big giant prison. Put up razor wire walls. Just make sure nobody got out. And the beauty of it is we would barely have to move people out of the city. Most of the people in Manhattan already criminals, so there would not need to be a mass evacuation, really. Eminent domain or anything. Not really. Make a few announcements. If you are not a criminal, you might want to get out of New York because we're going to make it a prison. You might have a few people leave, but otherwise, from the stock market to the South Bronx, everybody that's in New York City would deserve to be there. Put up the walls and escape from New York. And you could do sort of a Hunger Games thing as well. They could play Hunger Games. They do whatever they want. Keep criming, keep drugging, keep stabbing, keep shooting. We'll even bring in guns. We'll supply you with guns and drugs, whatever you need to keep on with your criminal life. You continue it on, but you're going to do it in New York City where they put up walls, the prison. Escape from New York. This is a fantastic idea. Hollywood writers have the best ideas. All right, we're out of time this hour. We'll be back. Talk more about, nonsense. All the garbage they collected in Yellowstone. Hats, pizza boxes, stuff like that. Cowboy State Daily show continues after the news.
It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming. From the Cowboy State Daily Newsroom, I'm Wendy Kaur. Poachers kill untold numbers of America's wildlife, costing the country more than $1 billion a year, and apparently most of them are getting away with it, according to one of the nation's top hunting and conservation organizations. Roughly 4% of poaching cases are detected, according to the Boone and Crockett Club. Cowboy State Daily's Mark Hines reports that means up to 96% of poachers get away with it.
The reason for that is the nature of the crime. It's usually taking place way out in the middle of nowhere where there might not be very many people around. Game agents, be they state or federal game wardens, are just so few and far between. It's really difficult not only to catch poachers, but to even establish that the crime was committed in the first place.
Each year, undetected poaching across the U.S. costs $302.2 million in lost potential fines and $1.13 billion in the estimated value of animal replacement for the wildlife killed. Wyoming lawmakers are grasping how to prosecute gambling houses and dealers operating under the regulatory table without criminalizing people who gather in coffee shops and bars for a friendly game. It's a difficult balance. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that the Laramie County District Attorney's Office recently declined to pursue a case of alleged professional gambling in which there was a question of whether those involved had a bona fide social relationship.
I've been covering a criminal case in Natrona County where the guy was faced with a felony professional gambling charge, and his argument was, whoa, these statutes are a mess. This is unconstitutionally vague. And so lawmakers are trying to define bona fide social relationship. They're also trying to differentiate between like professional houses, dealers that take a cut, and what they called grandma and her friends playing Texas Hold'em at the coffee shop.
Ultimately, on Thursday, during their meeting in Cheyenne, the Legislative Select Committee on Gaming voted to advance a bill that would target gambling houses, dealers, and game organizers, and that would define bona fide social relationship. Memories fade, and the old saying goes that time heals all wounds. But the wound and resulting scar inflicted on Casper 52 years ago this month can still be tender for those who lived through it. Cowboy State Daily's Dale Killingbeck spoke to best-selling author and former Casper resident Ron Francel, who in his book, The Darkest Night, chronicled the tragedy of the kidnapping and murder of an 11-year-old girl and her sister, who was assaulted and thrown 100 feet off a county bridge, but survived.
You think about, when does the hurt stop? For some people that were here, it still hasn't stopped, and it's been 52 years. Both of them were tossed off the bridge. One died, one survived. But people that knew her think that it was because she wasn't able to save her younger sister, that she, in the later years, went back to that bridge and she fell off again, and she died the second time.
As the 52nd anniversary comes, the lone person still alive responsible for the crimes is listed as a prisoner at the Wyoming Medium Correctional Institution. He's 79. I'll be back with more news right after this.
The Wyoming way of life. There's nothing like it. And no financial partner like your local cooperative credit union to help you live life the way you want to. We help you save for a brighter future, borrow for your dream home, start your small business. We've got your finances, and you've got plans, so go ahead, pitch a tent, head for the rodeo, reel in a big trout, fire up the smoker. Wyoming's credit unions are here to stay, and here for you.
Well, back when there was no speed limit in Montana, highways there were known as the Montana Bahn. Then along came a stubborn cattle hustler from Wyoming named Rudy Butch Stanko. Cowboy State Daily's David Madison reports that Stanko's lead foot and hard head inadvertently brought the no speed limit era, in which speed was limited to what was considered reasonable and prudent, to an end.
To Rudy Butch Stanko, reasonable and prudent in his purple Camaro was 121 miles per hour on what he described as a perfect driving conditions day. He's just really moving down the highway between Great Falls and Lewistown and gets pulled over. It goes all the way to the Supreme Court, and it turns out that the Supreme Court agrees with him that this reasonable and prudent standard isn't clear enough, and the Supreme Court justices in Montana direct the legislature to set a speed limit.
So although Butch Stanko hated laws and was a libertarian to his bones, he actually ended up creating a law that brought down the era of the Montana Bahn. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by clicking on the daily newsletter button at cowboystatedaily.com. I'm Wendy Core for Cowboy State Daily.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. Those 9 months were also 273 days of planning. What about your daughter's first costume party? It was out of this world. And let's not forget those barbecues you plan in detail for your family and your more vegetarian by the day best friends. That surprise party for your parents' golden anniversary? You get the golden planning. The same way you plan each detail for those moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make.
Cowboy State Daily show this morning. We've already established I am anti-influencer. I don't like these influencers for the most part. I don't like people that show off what they do online and claim to be an influence. Do I influence you to drink coffee? I should get, maybe it's jealousy. I should get free coffee from some company. Because I drink a pot of it every day. I should get free ball caps. Why should I advertise Bass Pro Shops or King Ropes? I'm influencing. I should get paid for that. I did have my hat on earlier. It must have blown off in the Wyoming wind, and maybe you can find it at the Grand Prismatic Garbage Can. That's what it's nicknamed. Story of the Cowboy State Daily today. Amber Steinmetz writes this story about the collection of crap that has usually blown off people's heads, but there's all kinds of stuff. Just garbage found in Yellowstone. More than 13,000 pieces of garbage have been retrieved already this year from hydrothermal areas in Yellowstone. Now, it probably would not be that. It certainly wouldn't be that many pieces of garbage have to be recovered by personnel if you were allowed to go retrieve your hat. But a lot of times, obviously, what happens in Yellowstone is you're required to remain on the boardwalk. Your sun hat blows off and it lands in a sketch area where you probably shouldn't be walking on that ground. And so you leave it there, rightfully so. And it's probably your fault you didn't have your hat secured. But it's good that you also don't go get it like that one dude that walked it. He thought he was doing everybody a favor. He went and collected hats at the Grand Prismatic Pool off boardwalk. just took it upon himself to clean up a little in Yellowstone. You don't want to do that, dude. You're not helping anyone. You're breaking the rules. Are you an influencer? Are you a hat collecting influencer? Hundreds of hats, pizza boxes, and Birkenstock sandal have been found in Yellowstone's great garbage can. Things collected. There's a photo that Amber Steinmetz shares. Marjorie Price took the photo. She's with the National Park Service. Gives you an idea of all the stuff that's been collected from Yellowstone's hydrothermal areas. Much of it around Grand Prismatic. I have to say, that seems to be the most popular hat magnet place because it's a lot of times windy there. And it's just huge. The pool is really huge. The boardwalk that goes around the Grand Prismatic is really long. So there's a lot of area where your hat could blow off and goodbye hat. With more than 300 hats retrieved so far this year, estimated to be worth more than, do we have to put a price on these ball caps? $6,000. All right. What's the pizza box? Who is eating pizza on their way to view a hydrothermal feature? Who takes it upon themselves to seriously walk with a box of pizza in Yellowstone? You can't go without eating for 2 seconds that you need to have a box of pizza with you? Visiting Yellowstone features? These are the same people that order fish on a 2-hour flight. Come on, dude. You're really going to eat seafood on a 2.5-hour flight? I don't know why United even offers a meal on a 2.5-hour flight. Can you not go 2.5 hours without eating? I don't know. Some people, they got to eat these. I don't know. And then of all the things you're going to eat, seafood? Talk about seafood in a landlocked state. You're going to have gas station sushi? You're going to have fish on a plane. What do you think? How fresh you think that fish is, number one. Two, how do you think it was prepared? In a little kitchen the size of the bathroom. You've been in the lavatory in the plane, right? That's how big the kitchen is on the plane. How do you think they made that for you? You think you got a 4-star chef there, Michelin-rated chef, making that fish for you? They're just reheating the same fish that they didn't want on the flight before that, and the flight before that, and the week before that. Not to mention how you're going to inconvenience your fellow flyers when you order the fish. And they reheat that in the microwave and then slap it down on your tray. Everyone within 4 rows has to smell that. These are the people walking around Yellowstone with a pizza box because they can't stop feeding their face for 1 minute. As you leave the station wagon and you make the 15-minute loop around Grand Prismatic, you will not survive without that Pizza Hut pizza. I'm afraid if somehow I get lost, if I get off trail, then I might starve to death. I better bring this pizza with me. How was a pizza box found? Flying hats, maps. Okay, I could see maps because Yellowstone hands those out to you. The National Park Service can blame themselves for how much literature they have to pick up in the park every year because they hand out the map of the park. They hand out the flyer that nobody reads that tells you not to take selfies with the fluffy cows. And then all this paperwork ends up stuck on a piece of sagebrush somewhere in Yellowstone. The pizza box, though, that's a surprise. I'd like to find out if it was more than one. Morning Glory Pool. They had to collect a whole bunch of stuff from there. Oh, here's the pizza box. Lots of money. Look at all the money they collect from Morning Glory Pool. People think it's a, wishing fountain. Well, can you blame them? Have you seen the average IQ of a Yellowstone tourist? Well, they lower the bar. I'll tell you that. Up here, you got people who graduated from MIT or Harvard or Yale or some Ivy League school, Cornell. And then way down here, you got the average Yellowstone tourist. They really drag down the bar with their loose hat wearing, their pizza box, and a pile of coins retrieved out of the Morning Glory Pool. It's not a wishing well. How are these people? Good story, though. I'm not surprised. Yeah, a lot of garbage has to be collected from Yellowstone. And good job by Amber Steinmetz to share with us what kind of stuff is collected. A lot of it due to the wind. People can't, keep a handle on your hats. There's always a hat somewhere in the Grand Prismatic. It's a guarantee. Renee Jean has a story about a shortage of license plates in Wyoming. What? Do we not have enough people in prison to pump these out? Or are the prisoners refusing to make license plates? More likely, prisoners now have so many rights. You got a guy doing hard time and he's got a lawyer. I don't want to make license plates. I don't even know if they still do that. They did in my day. We put those prisoners to work. Down south, they got you breaking rocks for no reason. Like they don't even need rocks broke. But you're on the chain gang, man. They got it right down south. I know we have some listeners right now that are saying, wow, whatever comes out of my mouth. Barbara said, wow. I hope you mean wow like I'm talking great sense. You need a Chris Ballcap, Chris Ledoux, Rob. I know. I'll get one. You don't have to send me one. Mandatory runaway straps on headgear in Yellowstone, Zuby says. Yeah. You can't legislate stupid, though, Zuby. There's no end to... I hate the word mandatory. You can't legislate stupid. If people can't keep the hat on their head, you see it all the time. Believe me, I led dude rides for a dude ranch. And if anyone came on the ride wearing a hat, if they came down to the first, to come pick out their horse, I want a fast one, they would say. I'm like, sure you do. I want a spirited one. and us wranglers would look at each other like, that's the first person that's coming off. I want a real spirited one. Sure you do. Look, I don't even want a spirited one. I don't want a horse that I got to wrestle with for the next 3 hours on this ride. You don't want a fast one. You don't want a spirited one. You want one that's just going to get you there and back in one piece. And so anyway, the dudes would come down with their hats, and I can see the slightest breeze, and they got to hold them on. There should be sometimes we would test them. We would just hit their hat, and if it flew off, we're like, it's not tight enough. Nobody except real cowboys wears a hat tight enough. Real cowboys, you can tell, because when they take their hat off, they got the red band across their forehead because they wear a size probably a little bit smaller than they need. So it stays the heck on. If you take your hat off and you don't have the red stripe of proving, I'll call it, then your hat's not tight enough. That's why they got to go pick them up all over the Grand Prismatic. Anyway, there's not enough license plates. Getting back to that. Doug McGee says the problem is staffing shortages. Well, I can fix that. Make the prisoners pound them out. Let's go back to that idea. If you're in prison just sitting around watching Netflix and whatever else they give you in prison now, 3 meals a day and Netflix in the TV room and basketball out in the courtyard, boy, prison's starting to sound pretty good. They should get back to breaking rocks and pumping out license plates. In the South, we've all seen the movies. They just send them out there breaking rocks. They just find, when they run out of rocks to break, they find more. That's why you cannot find a decent-sized rock in all of Alabama. Go down there. Try to find a boulder. They're all broke down to little pebbles. Because they got chain gangs out there just breaking rock. It's like the gravel capital of the world, the Southeast United States. It's just gravel everywhere. Oh, I got to open the Zoom room for our weather guy. Dang it. Sorry, Don. I'll be with you. Give me a second. Yeah, there's Don Day. Let's get him in on this topic. I think it's very important that we get the weatherman's take on this. Don Day, there he is. Don, don't you think we should go back where there's a story in the Cowboy State Daily saying there's a shortage of license plates? You may have to wait for your new license plate because of, there's equipment failures, they say, but the main reason is staffing shortages. I thought we had prisoners pounding out license plates, and I bet we can't do that anymore because it's not politically correct.
Now, whatever happened to the chain gangs?
Yeah.
They had to break rocks.
I just said that. Were you listening? I just said in the South, I said you can't find a decent-sized boulder nowhere because they're all broken to little pieces. Go to Alabama, see if you can find a rock bigger than a basketball. I doubt it.
Well, there you go.
They had the chain gangs. They were breaking rock for no real reason other than to give them something to do. Nowadays, they got Netflix, they got a gym membership, and they're playing basketball out in the courtyard. Jeez, I should have it so good. How do I get into prison?
Three square meals a day.
Right. And now they refuse to even make us a license plate, I guess. All right. On to weather. It was raining pretty good here a few hours ago in Jackson. Good hard rain.
There's another low pressure system that's come off the West Coast, and it's sitting right over Jackson right now, and it's going to take a couple days to move. It's a real slow mover.
Okay.
So really good to see. I mean, this is what we need to get the Dollar Lake fire contained completely. This type of weather pattern is really nice to see this wetness, and a lot of the state will have a good chance of getting wet between now and Thursday as the system slowly moves across the state.
I want to get one more, what I call poolcation. I poach one of the local hotels' pools that shall remain unnamed. And I think I got that day lined up for Thursday where it's going to be not too bad, like sort of give you a reminder of summer, but not really.
Yeah, I mean, actually, the end of the week and the weekend has real potential to be delightful.
Nice.
Once the system moves out. Now, are we going to get up in the 80s and 90s? No. But I would call it textbook September. 70s, mid to upper 70s, nights in the 40s. Your mountain valleys will be in the 30s. So it'll be pleasant September weather coming up late this week and this weekend. But we've got to kind of get beyond Thursday before that happens.
Yeah, a little wettish to start the week. If you have an idea of playing hooky on Friday, doing a little 3-day hunt camp sighting, maybe you want to establish your hunt camp. This would be a good weekend to shake that out.
Yeah. Well, I know there's a lot of hunters out in full force already.
Yeah, they're getting all wet. I think wait till the end of the week. I don't know.
Well, elk hunters are like farmers. They're never happy.
Yeah.
It's too dry.
Right.
It's too wet. Yeah.
You could make them a beautiful day, and they're like, "Oh, the game's up high. It's too
That's
hot."
right. If it's raining, well, I can't go hunt in the rain. It's like, well, what do you want? Well, I want enough snow that I can track them, but not too much snow so the tracks fill up. So they're the same thing. They're never happy.
We get a glimpse into the life of a meteorologist. Don Day's got it tough. No, as you've said that, no one is ever happy with the forecast. I don't mind. The rain's good for the wildfire. You're pounding it on a Monday when we all got to go back to work. And as we move to the weekend, it gets nicer. You've got it perfect, Don.
Yep, we're working on it.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Cowboy State Daily Show continues as Don Day pops in with a perfect weather forecast. Wet and dreary on a Monday. I don't mind that. We all kind of feeling dreary on Mondays anyway. By the end of the week, when we're ready to get out there and enjoy big, wonderful Wyoming, it'll be nice out. Perfect. Cowboy State Daily Show with Jay continues.
To the Teton Range, Cheyenne to Sheridan, Rawlins to Ralston. Cowboy State Daily Morning Show covers the state like no other radio show or podcast. We love, we're eager to share the stories of Story Will Crow About Crowheart and Yodel Over Yoder. Whether you make your home in Sweetwater, Chugwater, Powder River, or Green River, the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show will make you feel right at home. Jeffrey City, Atlantic City, we see you. Little America, Big Piney, you're on our radar. Howdy, Wapiti, Meeteetse, Shoshone, 10 Sleep, good morning. Welcome, Torrington, Riverton, Wheatland, Lusk, Lingle, Lander, Timber, Casey, Kerwin, Moorcroft, Mountain View, Moose, Fort Bridger, Fort Laramie, Fort Washington, Hannah, Hudson, Hewlett, Dayton, Daniel, and DuBois. We are east of Weston, west of Midwest, north of Newcastle, and south of Sundance. Border to border, we love Wyoming and every one of its communities, bar none.
This is the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
I don't remember how it started. Our back and forth. Victory. Fumble. Repeat. It always came back.
Dad! Okay, here we go, throw it! Yeah.
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Nice.
Jason, let's go see your room.
What do you think? We kept it a little spare, so you can decorate it how you like.
Dinner!
Go. Excellent. Soccer is fun. Yeah, I saw you guys out there. We're the I thought you were on my team.
Back on the topic of the shortage of Wyoming license plates and whether or not prisoners still make those. And I speculate that YDOT's inability to keep up with demand has to do with staffing shortage, they say. The staff is everybody incarcerated in Rawlins. That's your license plate making staff is convicts in Rawlins. And Holly points out, Jake, you might want to check yourself about prison conditions. I know, I exaggerate. In experience, I have not been to prison, thankfully. I have not done anything to put myself in, and I have not even landed on the just visiting jail corner of Monopoly. I've not visited one or been incarcerated in one. But I do see stories like so-and-so criminal got a law degree while he was in prison. How do you get a law degree while you're in prison? They got libraries. They got gyms where you can go lift weights. They got TV rooms. You got everything you got on the outside, inside. And it all, my opinion of prisons all stems from the idea that I don't think prisons should exist to rehabilitate. They should be there to just for a place where you can live the rest of your rotten life until it's over. Unless you're in for, 5 to 10. It shouldn't be a fun place. And Holly, I guess, is thinking that it's not. I just think we could have prisoners make a license plate if they want it. It would be opt-in. You don't have to. The Cheyenne facility where license plates are made, I guess, broke down. The plant is experiencing unexpected staffing shortages, according to Doug McGee. They got a Cheyenne license plate factory dubbed Area 51 for its secret warehouse. Oh. Yeah, so anyway, there's a shortage of license plates. Some people can't get the new plate. By 2026, you're required to be rocking the new black plate. I call it black. Supposedly it's dark blue. If you've seen them on a car, it's not dark blue. That's black. That's black. It's so dark. And that's maybe why people don't like them is I don't like them because a license plate should be brown and or gold or both. A Wyoming license plate. I mean, the last great license plates were the simple ones, like this one right there. Just white, just like plain. With the bucking horse, has to be big and prominent. The old ones are the better ones. Today's license plates seem too cluttered to me. They're too busy. There's too much going on in the plate. I'll share. You should let me design the plate. I could be an influencer of the license plate. So it's sort of hard to read because you got the state emblem in the background. Do we really need that? Get rid of that thing. Get the old plates that had what do you call it? The UFO mountain on it. Devil's Tower. That's too busy. The plates before those had the Grand Tetons. Everybody got jealous. They're like, oh, Jackson gets everything. Why do they also need the license plate? That kind of looked busy to me. And the state emblem in the background here just clutters the whole look. It's covered up by you don't need it. I don't like the dark blue black. I don't think Wyoming is dark blue, black. Wyoming is the gold. It should be gold or brown, like the university. That's it. Never change those colors on the license plate. Forever, gold or brown, or both. That's it. No dark blue that almost thinks it's black. And this plate also has a "that's why" in the corner. That's, our big tourism thing. That's why. It's also got travelwyoming.com on the bottom. Now we're advertising on the license plate. It's just too many things on the license plate. All we need to know is what the number of your plate is so we can call the cops and say this crazy guy is driving like a lunatic. Did you get a plate number? In fact, I did, because I could read it. It's just too much going on the plate. And the blue-black, nobody likes it. So in this story written by Renee Jean, she says shortage of Wyoming's new license plate has counties scrambling. There's some counties where if you go to turn in your old tags, in the license plate design lasts for 8 years. And it could be shorter, but that would have to be changed by state statute. That would have to be a law. So pretty much you got your black license plate for 8 years. You're going to have to rock that. Sorry, hope you like it. Some, Renee Jean speculates, are happy for the delay because they don't like the new design. Now, it's license plate design is one of those things where you're never going to have consensus. You're more than likely going to have a lot of people who say they hate it, no matter what you did. If you make it simple, like I'm saying, people who like a lot of stuff would say, oh, that's too simple. I'm the minimalist. I want to do like missionary license plate signs, just like missionary furniture, right? Simple, functional. But there are some people who probably like the black or dark blue. But a lot of people don't, and they're fine with the delay. For instance, go to Albany County. Clerks in the Albany County Treasurer's Office are telling people with license plates, wait until the end of the month to renew them. You have until, depending on when your tag is good for, that's how long you have until you're going to have to go in and replace the whole plate. The Albany County Treasurer's Office is saying wait the full month, not like anybody doesn't anyway. I wait past the month. I wait till the next month to get my tags renewed, or the month after that. I wait a long time. So wait until the end of the month because they don't have any more. They're out. They can't get them. And it's not only Albany County. I think Natrona County is running out as well. So, yeah, the new license plate, thanks to, there was some kind of breakdown in the facility that makes them, some mechanical problem. And then they're also short-staffed because ipso fatso, there's prisoners won't make them anymore because they have rights. Unbelievable. Nobody wants to work anymore. Whether you're free or incarcerated, nobody wants to work. So, yeah. One option. Oh, listen to this. Wait a minute. I should read stories before I talk about them. Doug McGee said part of the reason for the simpler design this time around, I don't think it's simpler, Doug. I think it's complex. There's too much going on in the plate. Doug McGee thinks they're simpler. He said one reason for the simpler design is that scenery doesn't reproduce as well on the license plates. Yeah, so instead of seeing Devil's Tower or the Grand Tetons, we got now the state emblem, which is just as busy in the background to me is any piece of art. That prompted the design committee to take a more old school approach this time. I don't think it's old school enough. One option was a red background with white letters and numbers. That came from the early 1900s. Oh, I like that idea. The other option was a beige brown background with brown numbers. Again, that was from the early 1900s, Doug said. And then these, well, I don't see any of those as the options that you can go get. I think the only plate you can get is this dark blue black one, which I don't like. Nobody likes. I just think it's the wrong color scheme for Wyoming. We're not black background. There should be some brown and gold in there. Gotta be. Well, that's why I use the UW plate, which is gold. And they haven't changed it since they put it out. I have one of the UW plates that's gold because I don't like the state plates. I don't like switching every 8 years. All right, off that topic. Do I have a guest? No, I don't. Till a little later. I'm kind of over the Charlie Kirk thing. Not that it doesn't deserve news coverage, but conspiracy theories and UW student papers called out for a quote saying Kirk deserved to be shot. Wyoming Freedom Caucus. This story came out. Jackson Walker wrote it about 3 days ago, back on Friday. The Branding Iron, which is the college newspaper, had a story about the Charlie Kirk assassination. And in the story, an unnamed student was quoted as saying, "I think that he deserved it. Having a family doesn't give you the right to dedicate your life to removing minority group rights. Punching fascists is not a right, but a duty. And I think shooting them is too." Okay, so an outlandish quote. It's not the fault of the Branding Iron, the newspaper, it's not their fault for printing the quote, but it is their fault for not putting someone's name to it because they simply attribute it to another student. You got to put your name to a quote like that if you want to be in the newspaper. It's irresponsible, in my opinion, for a newspaper to print that kind of inflammatory quote without somebody's name to it. This is not the internet. If you want to be a newspaper, Branding Iron, if you want to rise above the internet where you're allowed to post anything that comes to your mind and not have to put your name on it because you can use an avatar, you can use some fake name, you can hide behind some not real identity. This is not the internet in the Wild West. This is newspaper reporting. And if someone, what quotes are going to be provocative, if you're going to put a quote in your paper, something like, "I think Charlie Kirk deserved it," then you better put a name to that quote so we know who said it. It's only fair. You can't just say a random unnamed student said. Freedom Caucus, who, they love to jump on stuff like this. Freedom Caucus is calling for, what do they want? Freedom Caucus Friday called out University of Wyoming student newspaper, The Branding Iron, for quoting an anonymous student. Yes. I mean, yeah, call them out. Tell them it's wrong. Learn from your mistake, whatever. The Jackson Hole News and Guide here in Jackson is under fire for printing a cartoon, a syndicated cartoon that wasn't inappropriate. Wyoming Freedom Caucus Chair State Rep Rachel Rodriguez-Williams told Cowboy State Daily she's highly disturbed by the quote. Yeah, it's disturbing. I think it's newsworthy by the branding iron to point out there are people who think the Charlie Kirk shooting was justified. There are people out there who think that's okay. They think Charlie was spreading hate message, so we can spread hate too with bullets. There is that group of people out there, and we need to know. We need to know who they are. Take names and numbers. No, we need to know that as a society. It's important to know that there are. Otherwise, we're surprised when people take up arms and shoot someone. That's shocking. That Charlie Kirk would be killed for speaking his mind. That's a shock. But if news media is doing their job, we should know that there are people out there, whatever you want to call them, leftists or disenfranchised, whoever they are, we should be aware those people exist. And those people in post Charlie Kirk shooting that say that it was okay or justified or got what he deserved, it's important to know that there is a voice and there are people who think that. Minority, yes. How much of a minority? I don't know. But I would like to be aware of, as a news consumer, I would like to be made aware of the fact there are people who thought it was okay to silence Charlie Kirk because he was spreading hate. So to print the quote by the branding iron, I don't think it's unnewsworthy. I think it was just poor decision to not put somebody's name to the quote. You cannot have an anonymous quote like that. Can't. That's not responsible journalism. Because it could be made up. A paper could be, the editor could say, oh, this is a provocative quote. Let's put this in there. Even though it didn't come from anybody's mouth. No, we need to know that's a real quote. We need to know there are real people that think like that. So you got to have your name on it. That's responsible branding iron. That story's in the Cowboy State Daily. Jackson Walker had that story. It dropped on Friday. Check that out. We'll cover more of what came out over the weekend right after this quick break. We'll see you in 3. Stay with us.
Wyoming is the cowboy state. From corner to corner, there are so many stories to be told, and more cowboys and cowgirls are turning to the Cowboy State Daily News team to keep them in touch with what's happening both locally and in other parts of Wyoming. I'm Riley Strand, videographer and production assistant for Cowboy State Daily Video News. We're proud to bring the most important stories to our viewers every day. The stories that start conversations, the stories that make us laugh, the stories that make us think. Our experienced journalists at Cowboy State Daily are crisscrossing the state every day, talking to those who know the news best. Every day, host Wendy Core and I talk to the reporters who are covering the topics, issues, and people that are important to Wyomingites. And in our daily newscast, we bring you those stories. Tune into the Cowboy State Daily Video Newscast every morning, only on CowboyStateDaily.com.
You're listening to the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
Sometimes fatherhood
I'm the first Viking who wouldn't kill a dragon.
can feel like an epic battle.
But you will.
But you can change your kid's world just by being there. And with a little help, you won't believe how high they can soar.
All right, bud, you ready?
I'm proud to call you my son.
Come on!
Never stop being a dad. To learn more, visit fathersincorporated.com.
Logan Wilson here at the M Building in Casper, Wyoming. They do more than just support businesses and private events. They support nonprofits by offering reduced rates to help the community thrive. The staff here at the M Building have been incredible in helping me organize a fantastic event. They are great partners for those who want to make a positive impact on the community. Come check out the M for your next event.
For decades, I've taught you everything I know. How to safely build a fire. How to control the flames. What to do with hot coals. How to secure your chains. But I can only teach wildfire prevention. Only you can prevent wildfires.
Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake rolling along on a Monday. Holly on Facebook comment chimes in. She wanted me to talk a little bit more, I think, about the prison conditions. My viewpoint that it's Shangri-La. Prisoners are treated coddled too much and they won't make license plates. But yeah, it just detracts from what the real issue is with prisons. Holly says, would you rather inmates learn a trade, at the very least have a viable trade when they get out, or go back to their old ways, that were the problem to begin with? So yeah, I mean, if you're in prison doing a 2 to 5 stretch or whatever, it's a chance to turn your life around. And hopefully while in prison, you make the best of that situation. I doubt that's the motivation of the majority of the people who wind up in prison. I think the reason they're there is because they always take the easy way, and when they get out, they'll go right back to the easy way. But there are probably some that use that prison sentence as a chance to turn themselves around. Maybe they discover religion, maybe they learn a trade, and then when they get out, they can get on the straight and narrow, as they say. There may be success stories like that. And those should be in the news more than the failure stories of repeat offenders who should not be out among us, including the train stabber, who we'll talk about later. For that guy, breaking rock, making license plates, or anything else is too good for that guy. That guy should be, I don't know, even prison's too good for this guy. The train stabber. We're going to talk about that later. Yeah, prison should have some features that allow you to learn something so you can be a productive member of society when you get out. Yes. And I exaggerate when I say we should get back to breaking rock and making license plates. I'm just frustrated that I'm not frustrated we don't have enough license plates. That's fine with me. And that's fine with people who don't like the new plates. I'm just sometimes frustrated at the whole judicial system, incarceration, and people getting out early on parole that probably shouldn't. What we really need to crack down on is the backyard poker game. The Wednesday night meeting of the boys to play poker. legislators work to crack down on gambling houses and make it clear they're not looking to bust friendly poker games. Wyoming legislators on Thursday of last week debated how to prosecute gambling houses and dealers who operate under the regulatory table without also jailing grandma and her friends. I don't know if grandma's playing poker. I don't know if that's an adequate. One lobbyist said that Wyoming lawmakers looking to grasping how to prosecute gambling houses. What gambling houses? Are there gambling houses? Sometimes I think I live a sheltered life where I don't have people knocking on my door offering to inspect my roof for hail damage every other day. I don't live in Cheyenne. If you want to live in a big city, I guess that's what happens. You get solicitors trying to sell you something every day. I don't want to live in a big city. Casper, Cheyenne, never. Gillette, too big. Jackson's already too big. Can't wait to get out. Who wants to be in a big city? But where are these? I guess I must have missed the memo. Where are these gambling houses? A gambling house? What even is that? That's a casino, right? Are there gambling houses in Wyoming? They should be cracked down. Kick everybody out, arrest them all. Laramie County District Attorney's Office recently declined to pursue a case of alleged professional gambling in which there was a question of those involved had a bona fide social relationship. So, yeah, we've heard this issue a couple of times. When anybody's ever arrested for gambling or suspected for gambling, the state laws regarding gambling and gaming are too vague. You could claim that, I'm not gambling. I'm just playing a game with my friends or my family. It's a social gaming, and which is okay. A bona fide social relationship. You know, it's the same thing that how they skirt drinking in dry counties in Utah. Same thing. You can say, well, I'm in this club. That's what they do. It's just to get around the law. So Wyoming has to fix up, clarify their gaming or gambling legislation. It's too vague, and I think we all know that. Where's the line? So can you have a little Wednesday night poker game with your buddies? That should be legal, right? You're just gambling amongst friends. Or then where does that then grow to you're running a gambling house? Meaning casino. It's unclear. Lawmakers want to make it more clear. Yeah, it's kind of the same as in Utah. When you go to a dry county in Utah and they don't serve alcohol, and I've actually experienced this. I've seen this. There'll be no bars in this county. What? Well, there's social clubs where you can go drink. Well, what are those? Well, it's a bar. You just have to be registered as a member of the club. And then suddenly the club or the house where you're gathering, that club it's legal drinking in Utah. Same as in Wyoming, legal gambling if it's among social friends or you have a relationship socially. Well, I have a relationship with all the other drinkers in this dry county in Utah because my name is on a register. I had to pay a fee to get in the drinking house. There's a door fee. And then I had to write my name down and my address. And suddenly I'm a member of a club and I'm allowed to drink in Utah. It's very similar to Wyoming gambling. That's how it's going to be abused. You're going to say, well, I have a social relationship with all these people I'm gambling with in this casino because I put my name in a registry and my email. And we're all in this one big friendly club. And we're not really gambling. We're just having, yeah. Well, maybe they fixed that up. I don't know. Claire McFarland. The state's already allowed DraftKings and online gambling on sports. The state has already allowed a lottery. For a long time, that lottery couldn't get into the state. So the state's already got one foot in the gambling game. Next hour, we have a whole mess of guests, so you don't have to listen to just me spouting off about whatever. A lot of guests, a lot more going on this Monday. Stay with us. Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake right here, and we're syndicated throughout this state on radio stations that have good taste. Find one today. It's time for news.
It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming. From the Cowboy State Daily Newsroom, I'm Wendy Core. A long court battle may be nearing the finish line for an Oakland, California developer, Phil Tagami, who's ready to talk about what he characterizes as a last-ditch effort to delay his controversial bulk marine terminal project as the California Supreme Court decides whether to hear a final appeal. Cowboy State Daily's David Madison reports that a win for Tagami would mean opening the West Coast terminal to ship coal to Asian markets, which Wyoming thermal coal producers have been working to secure for more than 2 decades.
Phil Tagami didn't get into this to be a coal exporter. He wanted to respond to a need that he saw in the East Bay area for exporting commodities. Now, it just so happens that coal from Wyoming could be one of those commodities that comes through in a large volume if this thing ever gets off the ground. It's been 10 years of legal fights, and now he really sees maybe light at the end of the tunnel.
Wyoming coal producers and state officials continue to closely monitor Tagami's legal journey, including a ruling earlier this year that upheld a district judge's original decision in favor of the developer. A vigil was held at the state capitol on Saturday evening to remember and honor conservative political influencer Charlie Kirk and the victims of a shooting at Evergreen High School in Colorado this week. Kirk was gunned down while speaking at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah on Wednesday as part of his American Comeback Tour, which invites students to debate social and political issues. Cowboy State Daily's Jackson Walker was at the vigil.
A lot of people there were preaching a message of love and faith and peace in a time when there's a lot of struggle and a lot of violence going on in the country. People there showed open emotion. They were wearing shirts representing Charlie Kirk, and they were carrying holstered pistols. And while everyone was gathered around, they broke out into a chorus of Amazing Grace right as the clouds overhead opened up and rain started coming down.
Against the backdrop of the Capitol, speakers encouraged those gathered to treat others with respect and compassion and to remain defiant against those who seek to silence their beliefs. A 6,200 cow mega dairy in Carpenter on Wyoming's Eastern Plains helps to supply Pizza Hut's cheesemaker. The Burnett family, who owns and operates the dairy, says its pioneering innovations could change the industry. Cowboy State Daily's Renee Jean took a tour of the dairy.
We always hear about how dairies are closing and struggling. And when I got there, it was this huge operation and recently opened. They started in 2004 with 600 cattle, and 3 years ago, they doubled in size to 6,000 cattle. The milk goes down to Colorado to a company called Leprino, which makes cheese for Pizza Hut. So if you've had a pizza from Pizza Hut at any point in time, you've probably eaten some Wyoming cheese.
Today, the dairy milks around 2/3 of Wyoming's 9,000-some dairy cattle. That's 6,200 cows per day, 800 every hour, and 66,400 gallons of milk every day. I'll be back with more news right after this.
The Wyoming way of life. There's nothing like it. And no financial partner like your local cooperative credit union to help you live life the way you want to. We help you save for a brighter future. Borrow for your dream home. Start your small business. We've got your finances, and you've got plans, so go ahead, pitch a tent. Head for the rodeo. Reel in a big trout. Fire up the smoker. Wyoming's credit unions are here to stay and here for you.
Something special has happened in Buffalo, New York over the past several years that's fostered a sense of kinship between two unexpected places. Thanks to Josh Allen, many Wyomingites now cheer alongside the Bills Mafia from thousands of miles away in hopes of an elusive Vince Lombardi trophy. Meanwhile, Trent Weitzel has amassed fans who came back en masse once again this year to help the Double Dubs crew bring home the festival favorite trophy for the fourth straight year. Cowboy State Daily's Anna Jackson attended the annual National Buffalo Wing Festival in Buffalo, New York over Labor Day weekend and came away with a real sense of community that she didn't expect.
I did not expect to feel kind of this emotional connection just from meeting people in Buffalo who may or may not have Wyoming connections, and then seeing how like these two careers have kind of moved in lockstep.
Allen's fame means that he can no longer casually drop into the festival to dole out wings with the Double Dubs crew, as he did in 2019. But anytime Allen wants wings when the Double Dubs truck rolls into Buffalo, Weitzel finds a way to get some to the quarterback. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by clicking on the daily newsletter button at cowboystatedaily.com. I'm Wendy Core for Cowboy State Daily.
I did cheerleading through high school. I went to the Colts cheerleading and I loved it. I was about to go to work and my arm went numb on me. I knew I couldn't speak, and I collapsed.
After 36 hours, Tessa's worried family and friends called police, who found her on the floor after suffering a stroke.
For 2 days, I was unconscious. I don't remember anything.
Thanks to the American Heart Association's support of life-saving research and medical breakthroughs, Tessa got her life back.
I don't have a limp anymore. And I am so encouraged because I can speak now.
To learn more about how the American Heart Association is saving lives, go to helpheart.org.
Cowboy State Daily show here Monday, and David Madison, D-Mad. I can't help but think, David, I got this visual in my mind of the California State Supreme Court. And I'm thinking of like 12 dudes with long hair. And they're all, each one of them, instead of a gavel, they have a bong. And they all have Grateful Dead t-shirts. Does California State really have a Supreme Court?
Or California just gets beaten up all the time. I got to stick up for my mom's from Lodi.
Okay.
I've never spent any time living there. You're talking about the Supreme Court decision that's could decide the fate of this commodities export facility in West Oakland. And so it sits before the California Supreme Court right now. The developers in Oakland are hoping that the Supreme Court passes and that this ongoing legal battle ends and they're able to proceed according to plans that were initially very supported by the state of California and by federal dollars. And so when the idea to create a commodities export facility in West Oakland came along, they're going to transform this old Army base into a place where you can export commodities from a deep port that has great rail access. Everyone liked that idea 10 years ago. And then word got out, well, you know what, coal could be coming through there. And so climate activists really rallied around that, continue to rally around that, pushing it all the way to the California Supreme Court. So Wyoming coal producers, meanwhile, have been watching, saying, hey, we sure would like to have an opportunity to export our coal, and this might be the closest port to Gillette and the rest of Wyoming's coal country. So yeah, Wyoming watches, and the California Supreme Court debates.
And Oakland just, we'll talk about Oakland in a second, but they just won't let this go to the point where you had somebody in the story say Oakland just keeps fighting it and fighting and fighting it, and to what cost? So the latest fight now in front of the state Supreme Court, decision expected in a couple of weeks, and Phil Tagami is one. Travis Deta is excited. Everybody sees this is the one chance Wyoming has of getting its coal to markets that want it in Southeast Asia. And it all comes down in Japan. Yeah, it all comes down to like one port. Like we've sort of tried Oregon and forget it. You think California has hippies. They're more hippie. California and this one port is like, it's this or nothing, man. It's come down to this. It's a huge deal. And so the latest is Oakland is again fighting it with another appeal, and that's what the state Supreme Court's going to decide, whether it has merit or not.
Yep, that's where we're at. And I wouldn't say it's the only option. I think it's what my sources said was it appeared to be the most promising at this time. And it brings to light really deep divisions over climate change. And one thing I want to make clear is that these guys, Mark and Phil Tagami is the kind of the general contractor, and his partner Mark oversees it all, but it really is part of the rail piece. And then there's a whole nother company that's part of that will actually run the port. And all these guys didn't get into this, I think, thinking we want to export coal. They got into it saying, look, there's a demand for all kinds of commodities to move off our shore, and coal happens to be one of the big ones. And I think they maybe were a little surprised about how much trouble that has put the project in, that coal was associated. But I think, there's other commodities that could come out of Wyoming and the Rocky Mountain region. Yeah, we will be watching. It's very, it's very low when it comes down to local politics. It's really is one of the biggest issues about in debate for the last 10 years in Oakland. And now, one of the questions I had for them, I said, is there going to be a meeting where the city council finally says, okay, we tried. We're going to move forward with our original plan that we had put in place 10 years ago and approved. That's why Tagami has been able to win over and over and over again, is because the city of Oakland is kind of going back on previous decisions where the project had all the support. Oakland celebrated it as a part of their redevelopment. Tons of money got poured into it, and then it was ready to go, and then the lawsuit started. And so I think there's a whole other separate side story that I haven't gotten into involving this company that will actually run the port. They're based in Kentucky, and so there's a bankruptcy. They filed for bankruptcy because they were ready to go years ago, and they've had to wait it out and have had according to them, have had really hardships financially that way. So there's a bankruptcy case in Kentucky that Wyoming I need to report on, and because it will maybe ultimately impact Wyoming coal producers.
Yeah. And sometimes, and sometimes activists or whatever the group is that's fighting something, sometimes they win by delay. And if this is a decade long, who can hold out? You don't have to have the 12 dudes in black robes decide for or against you. You just tie it up. If this has been a decade, some companies just say, I give up. But Oakland, am I reading Oakland wrong? Like, Oakland's the bastard child of California. I mean, the Bay Area, San Fran is great. LA's got its great, Hollywood, Beverly Hills, Palm Springs. There's a lot of great communities in California. Oakland, so even the Raiders don't want to be in Oakland anymore.
Oh, you can't get me to badmouth Oakland. One of the reason I was able to connect with Phil Tagami is because he's friends with someone I grew up with in North Carolina who happens to read my coverage. So he was reading my coverage in Cowboy State Daily from his office, my friend Steve in downtown Oakland, where he is one of the primary architects of Oakland's comeback. And so I've been going to Oakland for the last 25 years to see my friend, and have seen how the downtown has been totally revitalized. That's the side story behind Phil Tagami. He's been part of this movement to bring back old historic theaters, to really create that walkable, vibrant downtown that Oakland has enjoyed. And so, yeah, I cheer it on. Maybe it has been an underdog, but it's also been found and discovered and gentrified, just like the rest of the Bay. It's Berkeley and Oakland kind of merged together, and there's a really great web series called The North Pole, and it's all about the gentrification of this neighborhood in Oakland called the North Pole. And it speaks to the cultural story of that town. So yeah, I've been watching it closely as a friend of the community, because I have people that I really care about who live there. And I hadn't really tapped into the coal controversy until just the last month or so.
All right, fair enough. Rumors of Oakland's demise may be premature. I've just always pictured Oakland as, looking across the Golden Gate and say, we'll never be San Francisco,
Well, there's always that. Sure, there's always that. But, I mean, hey, I'll threaten you with a good time. Anyone who questions, go down and see a show at the Fox Theater and tell me you didn't have a good time.
Cool. Well, that's good to know. But I'm thinking, like, if coal could be exported anywhere out of California, Oakland seems like a town that would, a city that would embrace that. And, at one time they did, but
right, and they do. I think that there's certainly a business community there, and then a community of investors in the state, both public and private, who have pushed their chips into the ring here, into the center of the table over this here. What I didn't know, and I'm still learning about, is there are two ports, I think Richmond and Stockton, which are lower, which don't have as deep a draft, so you can't get as big a ship in there.
Mm-hmm.
They are shipping coal. So it's possible to get it offshore. It's just that I think reaching a economy of scale, you need the rail connection, you need the deep port, so you can just go straight from rail to ship. And that's what Oakland has. And I think that it's going to happen at some point. I think that certainly given this administration, I would be optimistic to say that the port will open. The future of coal maybe is a little less clear.
Good to know. All right. There's a lot there. David Madison's story about Wyoming's efforts and at least a couple of guys' efforts to get a port that would ship Wyoming coal out the Pacific. That's the ocean they keep over there, right? Yeah. Good story, David. Great story about the Montana speed limit. You're up there in Montana. I always thought Montana had the speed that was reasonable and prudent, and you could hot rod in Montana. And the reason it changed is federal government pressure to withhold funding for highways if they didn't at least put a number on the sign. But it turns out Butch Stanko, who the last thing he wanted would be another law. It was his bullheadedness that put numbers on the speed limit signs. Butch, what are you doing?
Butch Stanko. Yeah, Rudy Butch. He is a American original, complicated figure, reviled by some, lionized by others. And he had a lead foot, and he would go to these cattle sales at high speeds. And yes, the feds probably would have forced Montana. It appears in retrospect, you can see that the change in federal law would have probably brought a change in Montana. But Butch kind of pushed the issue, as he did with everything in his life. He took it to the limits of his own point of view on personal freedoms. He was a libertarian to the core, it sounds like. And so when he got a series, I think he got 3 tickets, like 109, 116, 121. And I think it was the 121 that he got on the way back from a cattle sale in Great Falls, and pushed it all the way to the Supreme Court and basically said, look, it is reasonable and prudent for a man of my driving skill on a day with perfect driving conditions on a brand new pavement in my Camaro to do 121. That is reasonable and prudent. But you, sir, who are driving this lesser highway patrol vehicle, you're the one that's actually guilty of speeding. That was not reasonable and prudent for you to try to keep up with me.
Yeah. And Rudy Butch has a point, but when you go push that point to the extreme, you can see where it's headed. You're going to have to clear up that fuzzy gray area of law.
And so it was a close vote, right? I think it was just a couple of votes that separated the justices in Montana. I drove in Montana at that time. I remember people talking about it, and I remember being passed at high speeds. I never really had a vehicle that could go very fast back then. I also remember hearing about celebrities like David Letterman outside of Shodo in Augusta, Montana, where the highways are long and up and down, beautiful rolling drives that he would often be pulled over in his various sports cars to talk about the reasonable and prudentness of his actions. It's we got a great. I wish I had it here I could share, but we got a great photo of someone from a reader who had a picture of his Camaro from that era parked in front of one of the speed limits that said reasonable and prudent instead of a number. And so there's certainly a lot of fond memories for some. I also know that I got another letter to the editor from a former emergency room physician who says he does not miss the car accidents on I-15 outside of Dillon. So yeah, I guess a mixed bag of response to that story.
Yeah. And it just reminiscing about Montana's days when it's almost like urban myth. You hear about a time when Montana had no actual speed limit. It was, what your vehicle and your driver could do. And it goes both ways. If tickets were ever written to driving too slow, which you never hear of, but it is a law. You may be driving you may be grandma in a junker, and yours prudent and reasonable speed might be 35 in a 55. So you could avoid a ticket for driving too slow. But yeah, the writing was on the wall when you have a law like that, reasonable and prudent. Yeah, and Rudy Butch tested that.
He's an original. It's probably not the last we've heard of Rudy Butch.
Dude, and it's funny that, you had in the story about his date, like bidding at the cattle sale, and he was buying everything, and some guy's like, he's buying all the cattle. What are you doing, Rudy? Like, why are you buying all these cattle? The question is, how did he keep getting to all these cattle sales to buy? And it was because he was driving 120 miles an hour. He'd be at this one and then be at that one.
He picked the habit up as a teenager working for his family's packing business. It's kept it up. Yeah, it's like, because then he also, the part of the story we really didn't tell is his whole building an empire of a meatpacking industry, that he was the little guy who created his own empire and was taken down on federal charges. And that's a whole nother story. I see a Hollywood film here that's a little bit like The Informant. And if you remember that with Matt Damon and for The Founder, where the story of McDonald's meets Smokey and the Bandit, like this guy is both a business maverick and he's also like Burt Reynolds in his Trans Am.
Great story from D-Matt about who was behind the wheel of that purple streak that just blew by you in Montana. It's a Wyoming dude, and he got all the speed limit signs changed in the great state of Montana. Big sky country. Thanks, David. Have a great Monday.
Yeah, see you next week.
Cowboy State Daily Show continues right after this break.
Wyoming is a big state. There's so much ground to cover, so many stories to tell. But the Cowboy State Daily News team is up to the challenge. I'm Wendy Core, host of Cowboy State Daily Video News. Whether it's politics in Cheyenne, energy issues in the Powder River Basin, or grizzlies in Yellowstone, our talented crew of experienced journalists are out there finding and telling the stories that matter. What's the best restaurant in DuBois? Renee Jean checks it out. What's the most recent Supreme Court decision mean to our everyday lives? Claire McFarland explains. How is the upcoming elk hunting season shaping up? Mark Hines lets us know. Every day, I talk to the reporters who are covering the topics, issues, and people that are important to Wyomingites, and in our daily newscast, I bring you those stories. Tune into the Cowboy State Daily Video Newscast every morning, only on CowboyStateDaily.com. This is the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
Mom, I got it. What are you doing in there?
I got stuck.
Oh. Are you a dog?
I wouldn't do that. Have you seen the pliers? Where'd you find those?
It's not your birthday.
Sorry.
Bye, Grandpa.
Bye, Grandpa.
Take care of yourself.
What are you doing? What are you looking for?
I don't think many kids in my son's school even do it.
He makes fun of his friend who vapes.
He would never try it.
She's into soccer.
She's on the honor roll.
She's just not the type.
No way.
No way.
No way.
No way, my kid would never vape.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping. Maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
Life's daily battles are not meant to be fought alone.
We're not powerless, so long as we don't lose sight of what's important.
Don't be afraid to seize that moment to talk to your friends.
Cloud, you okay?
Because checking in on a friend can create a safe space.
The first step on our new journey. You coming?
Reach out to a friend about their mental health. Seize the awkward. It's totally worth it.
Cowboy State Daily Show here on a Monday, and into the discussion we welcome Sarah Bieber. Sarah, hi.
Hi.
Good Monday to you. How's everything?
Pretty good. How are you this morning?
I'm fine. I'm getting rained on. What about you? Are you up in Casper? What's happening?
Yes. Yep. No, just a little windy. We're supposed to get rain later this week, I heard. So, yeah, that's always good.
All right, we're going to talk about Moms for Liberty. Moms for Liberty is from what I gather, a nationwide movement. I believe it was started in Florida, but you are Moms for Liberty, as we can see, rocking the T-shirt on Natrona County. You're also, and correct me if I'm ever wrong, because I'm wrong a lot, Sarah, on this show. Facts be darned, registered nurse.
Correct.
You've served on many boards, so you understand how boards work. You know all this stuff. You've been attending the school district meetings. And I think from what I gather, you are very interested in parental rights in education, and we'll talk about what your ideal curriculum is, what you think kids should be taught today and what not taught. But parents should be first and foremost, right? Parents should have understanding of what's going on, what's being taught to their kid. Your kid's in school for how many hours a day? And parents need more rights to understand what's happening in school. So tell me first about joining up with this group, because you yourself have these ideas, I think, of Moms for Liberty. And then did you discover this group and say, wow, that aligns with a lot of my thinking? How did that happen?
Absolutely. There was a group of us in 2020 and 2021 that got involved at the school board level over masks and different things. And Natrona County did apply for a variance from masks, so it wasn't required. You could if you wanted to or not, but that took a lot of parents getting involved and a lot of conversations and a lot of board meetings. What we saw in Natrona County wasn't isolated to Natrona County. It was statewide. It was national. Moms for Liberty was a group that started out of Florida. Our group here in Natrona County started in October of 2021. National started in January of 2021. So parental rights is our main focus, but not just parental rights, parental responsibility. What does it mean to take your parental rights and to use them? It's a responsibility that we all have as parents. Empowerment so that they understand what their rights are and how to use them and how to talk to those officials and how to talk to the school district and the school boards. And engaging in local issues, decision making, being in that driver's seat for their children and advocating. And that's not just our mission, that's the mission of Moms for Liberty. It's not just words on paper. It's who we are, it's what we stand for. Our beliefs, our family's beliefs, those are important and they deserve to be what is the forefront of our child's education.
There's so many important topics and issues in education. It's weird that a lot of these came to light because of the pandemic, because of the whole mask thing. It's silly that masks mandated is what really caused a lot more important things to come to light. And those more important things are just simple stuff. Sarah, tell me about what is the beliefs with Moms for Liberty, or you personally, regarding the teaching of biology, of sex ed. There's a male and there's a female. That's based on chromosomes and your reproductive functions. I mean, there's black and white there. But then there's the more fluid, sensitive topic of gender identity. And when, that has to first and foremost involve parents when you get into that. But how much of this should be in the classroom? What are we supposed to be teaching our kids regarding gender, sex?
That is a family conversation. That depends on the family, because there are families that are very open and talk about, the broad spectrum of that. And there are some families that are very conservative and don't have those conversations. It also depends on the age of the child. How much are we sharing with how young? That matters. They just don't have the ability to comprehend or understand those complex things until they're older. That's basic. Are we teaching male and female? Is that what we're teaching in schools? Is that the primary of what we're teaching? Is actual biology? I believe, and Moms for Liberty stands behind the concept that male and female, there is a difference, but those are the only two genders. The ideology of other things comes into play with other people's ideologies, other tones, other ways. So what belongs in the classroom ultimately is up to the parent. If you're not comfortable with what your child is being exposed to at school, you need to ask questions. You need to be involved. You need to know enough. And in 2023, when the Parental Rights and Education Act passed, the legislature passed it, that requires notification on those kinds of topics.
Good point.
Districts and policy has kind of changed that a little bit on what is actually being notified about and when, but that still stands and it's still necessary. So parents do have to pay attention to what they're signing too.
Good point, Sarah. Not only is it parental rights in education, but as you say, parental responsibility in education. They go hand in hand. Let's talk about a couple of more things that kids get indoctrinated with or taught. I don't know if it's a Natrona County thing. Certainly we hear about it nationwide. It's an agenda, it appears, on climate change when we're teaching that. What is climate change? There was this, I don't know if it's still a thing, but there was this idea of teaching slavery in a way that was kind of messed up. Are these also things that Moms for Liberty Natrona County is concerned with in curriculum?
Well, all of curriculum, any curriculum can be used to be divisive, and it can be used to tilt things. So it is, we caution, we do a lot of FOIAs. We ask to see not just what the curriculum, what the resources are, but what the teacher's notes are. What is the teacher teaching? How are they teaching it? Because you can talk about all of those things and not portray it as we stayed there. We didn't stay there as a country. We came out of that, and we came out of that strong. There isn't anything that we can do that nobody else can do in this country. We all on that ground have equal rights. Do I agree that sometimes it's harder and sometimes there's more complications? Absolutely, that's true. We don't own slaves. I never owned slaves. You never owned slaves. That's not the tilt that we want for education about our country. Another thing is that we stole our land. That's another big one, especially in Wyoming. Those conversations do need to happen, but is that something that the school needs to lead in conversation? Is that something that parents should be involved in too? Is that something that we should be notified of? In my opinion, yes. To Moms for Liberty, the more conversations with a parent, the better. Kids need to understand certain things at certain ages, but so do parents. They need to be able to protect their child if they don't feel that their child's ready to have those conversations. That's a parent lane, not a school lane.
We're talking to Sarah Bieber. She heads the Moms for Liberty Natrona County chapter, sometimes known as Moms for Tyranny. How has that gone? You know, trying to get the message across, trying to be a participant with the school board. Sometimes there's been friction there. What's the current situation like? Has things smoothed out? I know sometimes the school board can not want to hear diverse opinions. I don't know. How's the relationship now, Sarah?
Well, it's complicated.
Yeah.
It's difficult. That's not unusual. That's kind of what we expect most of the time.
Yeah.
Communication, we can make public comment. We can write emails. We can do all of the things. We can always have a sit down with the superintendent of the school district. This year we were able to donate. We partnered with the 917 Project. Laura Pavey, who is a Sweetwater chair for Moms for Liberty, she headed a project to get over 9,000 constitutions into every school district across the state. Here in Natrona County, we went through the superintendent and we did get those finally into our school district this year. We've tried for 3 years and haven't been successful. So they did have to review them, and I have not had any follow-up of whether they will actually be distributed, but that's the complications. Those are the things that we're seeing. And yes, the chair of the current school board did call us moms of tyranny very publicly. He did attempt to apologize for that, but we continue to have those challenges. Recently, a trustee brought a support resolution for the 250th anniversary of America, and that turned into a very contentious debate whether they should bring it. And then they ended up passing a very minimalist, half-hearted, half-a-page statement about it instead of having an actual real resolution that was resolute to supporting America. So that's discouraging. There are always those discouraging moments, but we have wins too.
Yeah. Sarah, let me ask you about this. Is Natrona County School District doing enough about bullying, suicide, and what bullying sometimes leads to suicide? Bullying sometimes leads to the teen violence we've seen in Casper. Is the district doing enough on that front?
Is it the only job of the school district to mitigate that? I don't think so. I think that there is a lot of room for parents to step into that. I think that there is a lot of area that parents need to step in. It is not the role of an academic institution such as public education to be providing mental health. They can provide resources and support for families to make sure that those kids get what they need, but that's not the lane of school. Parents need to step in, community needs to step in. There are a lot of outside resources that can help with that. The policies that we have, we need to follow them. And I don't feel like we are strong enough in our leadership and in most of the administration that we are actually following and enforcing our policies. And so that has been a topic of debate and conversation in our school board meetings for probably the last couple years now.
Let me ask you two more things, Sarah. One, tell me what is the relationship with what is a national group, Moms for Liberty? I mean, there's certain Wyoming concerns that are Wyoming concerns. Natrona County, there's things that pertain just to Natrona County. To what degree are you following out the national agenda of Moms for Liberty? To what degree can you say, maybe that's an issue in Florida or wherever, but not here. We're going to do this here. Like, how can you operate under this umbrella and still be just Natrona County, Wyoming, Moms for Liberty?
Our mission as Moms for Liberty is we are dedicated to unifying, educating, and empowering parents to defend their rights at all levels of government. That doesn't change regardless of your area, your state, your county. That doesn't change. Parental empowerment and parental rights and responsibility doesn't change. The topics change. Like you said, there are specific things, but that's true everywhere. So our mission to help parents support their children and be drivers of their education for their beliefs and what they want for their family, that doesn't change. So that mission is very solid, and we carry that out in all of the things and events, all of the education that we try to provide for families and parents on how to advocate for that. We do that, I think, very well. And we have 5 chapters in the state, and all of us are very cohesive in that mission.
I know the answer to this question already, but I want our listeners to know and hear from you. Sarah, if you were the superintendent of the district and you were forming the ideal curriculum, what would it be? I've heard from you, and it sounds a lot like the classical model. You want to teach kids to learn how to learn. That's important. Critical thinking. What else? What would you do if you wanted to install a curriculum for Natrona County?
Well, I think in Wyoming, we're very fortunate. Our teachers are allowed to come up with kind of piece together and build their own kinds of curriculums from different resources from different areas. I think that's valuable. I think our educators, our teachers do understand what kids in their classroom, because we're not talking about a single child. We're talking about 12, 15, 20 different students. So what works for their classroom? What works in what are we trying to educate them on? And how do we know when they've learned it? How do we answer those 2 questions? I don't think that there is a single curriculum. I do believe in classical education. I believe that foundations of reading, writing, and math, especially in the primary years, is fundamental for all education. Reading can teach you anything. Math takes you everywhere you need to go. Those things are important, and if we don't have solid skill at that level, struggles ensue from 3rd grade up. So yes, I believe in the classical education model, but allowing teachers the right to bring in what that looks like for their classroom, changing it from year to year for what their classes need, I think that's important too.
Parents of school-age kids in Natrona County and across Wyoming, you have the right and the responsibility to get involved in your kids, your students' education. Get involved, show some interest. If you want to get involved to the degree Sarah is and Moms for Liberty, Natrona County, where can we learn more? I think you got a Facebook presence. Where can we direct people?
Absolutely. So we have a statewide Facebook page. We have a local Facebook page. Like I said, we've got 5 chapters. So if you're not in Natrona County, reach out. We can find your closest chapter, or you can start a chapter. We have an email. It's natrona.m4l@gmail.com. Or you can find us at a school board meeting. We're always there.
Hopefully without any fireworks, but yes. Moms for Liberty, Natrona County, Sarah Bieber. Sarah, thanks for being on Monday.
Thanks.
Have a great week. We got more coming up. Cowboy State Daily after this quick break. We'll get in with Jeffrey Gilson. We're going to talk about that Ukrainian refugee that was stabbed to death in North Carolina. It's tragic. We'll talk a little bit about Charlie Kirk as well with Jeff in a moment.
Want to stay in touch with what's happening around Wyoming? I'm Wendy Core, host of the Cowboy State Daily video newscast. From Mountain View to Upton, from Jackson to Cheyenne, our reporters are out there finding and telling the stories that matter. Every day, I talk to the talented journalists who are covering the topics, issues, and people that are important to Wyomingites. And in our daily newscast, I bring you their stories. Tune in to Cowboy State Daily video news every morning, only on CowboyStateDaily.com. You're listening to the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
Who can you turn to for news you can trust? Your local TV and radio broadcasters. You trust us to keep you safe during times of crisis and to deliver the weather, sports, and entertainment you rely on every day. We bring you the facts you need to make decisions that matter. And as misinformation floods social media, you can trust your local stations to deliver the truth. Text TV to 52886 and tell Congress you rely on your local stations for trusted news.
You handle the healthcare, we'll handle the marketing. In need of a spark for marketing your medical practice? Loom Studio provides creative and strategic healthcare marketing that illuminates the path to bigger and better experiences for your business and your patients. We specialize in branding and design, social media, website design, SEO and SEM, not to mention content creation, public and media relations, and marketing metrics to ensure you're getting results. If you're looking to increase your patient engagement and retention, enhance your community impact, and streamline your marketing efforts, our team is ready to help you achieve your goals. Contact us today and learn more at loomstudio.com.
We come from a long line of farmers, and there's a sense of pride, but there's also a significant amount of pressure.
Farmers have to take care of their physical and their mental health, because what's a farm without a farmer?
Watching the sun come up, that's my time. I can have a cup of coffee, and every day is a new opportunity.
That's cool. Your hand's gotten so big. Yay!
Don't forget to check in on yourself. Love your mind.
Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake here on a Monday, and Jeffrey Gilson joins us. Jeff, your video is sideways. If you could flip, not that it'll matter. We can still hear you. There you go. Right there. That's perfect. Jeff Gilson, one-time speechwriter for the legendary British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, seasoned attorney, and it brings unique insight into world events like Charlie Kirk. Hopefully I have time here to hit on that a little bit, but I really wanted to pick your brain about this Ukrainian refugee, Irina Zarutska. I don't know if I'm saying her last name right, but I don't know what about it. Before we get into potential geopolitical implications of this and the look, what are the metrics on this as far as Ukraine-U.S. relationship? Before we get, I don't want to forget that there's a victim here, and Irina was stabbed to death she escaped Ukraine where the Russians are bombing her with drones. She gets out of there, comes to the U.S. to seek freedom and refuge, and some lunatic who should be in prison stabs her for no reason. I'm just, why does this shock me, Jeff, so much to the core? Is it because we have video of the event, or because I watch people sitting in the trains next to her and nobody does anything? She bleeds out on the train crying. Oh, I'm just shocked. Jeff?
Well, first of all, Jake, thank you for having me on the program. Don't be too taken by my English accent.
Yes.
Let me just check. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you fine. You sound great, except for, yes, you are coming across with a bit of a British
accent. I am, in fact, an American citizen. I was born on a USAF airbase in London and was raised in England, but I'm an American citizen. So I view this as an American. And I would say this, Jake, before we get into anything else. There have been two events in particular in the last couple of weeks that are tragic and have not reflected well on us as Americans in terms of what happened and in terms of how we've reacted. And I'll be honest with you. I'm a liberal American, and I say that we have not reflected liberal American values. Whatever other values, they're not liberal American. We had a young lady on a subway train who was murdered. There's probably a discussion for another time about if we're doing enough about mental health. Why is this person loose? What about our justice system? More to the point is, the people around her did nothing. I don't know about anybody else, but liberal Americans do not stand by and watch someone die. We help. And I'm pretty sure the people listening to Cowboy Station also help. That does not reflect well on us. It's a form of cancellation of someone's life. She apparently collapsed 15 seconds after she was stabbed. Could we have staunched the wounds? I don't know. A few weeks later, Charlie Kirk. I don't agree with a lot of his views, but what I did admire was the fact that he went onto a college campus and engaged with people. He never stopped talking to someone just because they didn't believe with him. Charlie Kirk is cancelled on a college campus. What are we supposed to do? Start providing Secret Service details to every political surrogate? Scott Jennings on CNN. Are we supposed to turn our campuses into concentration camps with watchtowers to keep people safe? This does not reflect well on Americans and on their values and on their reactions. And I'll go a step further. Since Charlie Kirk died, and I suspect he would be the first one to find this reprehensible, there has been this almighty social media fight over who could be more revolting about what they say about Charlie Kirk and what they say about the people who are being revolting about Charlie Kirk. People, stop it. This is not who we are as Americans. We have difficult problems. We need to find solutions. You don't find solutions by scoring points. It's another form of cancellation. Now, let's come back to the subway train. Let's leave aside Ukraine for a moment. And I'm going to go somewhere that's a little controversial. It's not hateful. It's just being honest. If we're going to have real conversations in this country, we've got to look at issues and address them in a real way, and sometimes address difficult solutions. It is impossible to notice, Jake, and I'm sorry to say this, that the people around this white Ukrainian woman were all black. I'm not a racist. I'm the furthest person from being a racist. I'm a liberal American. So we have to have a conversation, and we go where it goes, Jake. If that conversation ends up with people of goodwill saying, we've looked at this. We have treated the African American community in this country terribly through slavery and plantation horrors and segregation and Jim Crow. We've arrived at the conclusion we've treated them bad. It needs massive restorative action to make them feel they're a part of the nation. Then that's where we go. But equally, if the answer is there are people, not all of them, who believe they are entitled because their great-great-great-great-grandmother was treated badly, that's what we have to look at. Or if we look at the community and we say there are people, not all of them, in a community who believe in violence and nihilism, then that's what we need to look at. But it is absolutely not an American thing to do, to watch a young woman die because of the color of her skin or her gender or any other democratic factor. And we've got to stop canceling people and scoring points about this. We need honest conversations.
Jeff, I did notice that for anyone who has not seen the video, there's people on the train in the surveillance camera that are, of 5 or so that watched this whole thing happen. And then when the attacker left the screen And okay, so you don't want to be a hero and try to stop it, but after the event, no one did anything. And I noted they were all black and the victim's white. And was it, is that a lesser life? And if you learn she was Ukrainian, not even a U.S., is that a lesser life? Is any of that a reason not to get involved? I don't know. You're right. It bears some discussion.
Well, and I think it does. And as I say, there are conversations about a lot of matters that need to be aired. We need to have sometimes face difficult solutions. But I've been really upset in the last few days with people of both the right and the left just engaging in a mud fest about who is more awful. And I watched somebody last night saying, well, the left are now getting a taste of their own medicine. We're going to cancel them just like they've been canceling us. Stop it. No, you are not righteous because you're a liberal. You're not righteous because you're a Christian. Everybody has a point of view, and we don't need to wait for leaders to tell us to do this. Each of us in our lives can just stop, take a deep breath, step back, and listen. Listen, because we are divided in this country, and we don't need to be divided. I fear that we're becoming a country that believes in the theme, do unto others before they do unto us. No, that's not who we are as Americans, wherever we are on the political spectrum.
I mean, America was once upheld in a different way internationally. And now, I don't know what got us here, but now, other nations, when they look at the United States of America, even our friends up in Canada, because of tariffs, now have this view. Yes, you're right. It's not these incidents. It's not the stabber and it's not the shooter. It's how we behaved in the aftermath. It's also just as embarrassing.
Yeah, I mean, this is what bothers me, Jake, and I see the connection between the two. It's reaction.
Yeah,
and it's not a question of I was talking to somebody yesterday, and they said something, and I said, look, what I'm hearing you say is, there should be no political violence, but you guys started it. Well, of course, words aren't violence, but you guys started it. So who breaks the cycle? Who gets off the carousel first? Why don't we make it us? Why don't we get off the carousel first and just stop and say, wait a minute. I put something up on Facebook and people spit blood at me. Why? What's going on? I'm ready to come up with a tart response, but let's stop. What is going on here? We need to start asking, because there is something wrong with this picture.
Jeff, I don't know that I or either of us intended to go here, but where does it look like we're headed in America? At the very least, to me, it looks like civil war. Like we're so divided. Does this have any implications of global? Like, is this World War III? We can't dialogue. We can't discourse. We can't talk. So we result to violence. That is not a good.
I fear for it. I have a twin sister who lives in England, and she is very scared. She keeps telling me to come back and live in England. And I said, well, I don't think England's any better. I think it's a worldwide thing. I think it's disappointing, tragic that this girl escaped Ukraine, came here and got murdered. To deal with that one, no, I don't think it's going to have any implications as far as that's concerned. Ukraine has 1,000 years of history of violence. It's the land of the Cossacks and the Rus. They've been steeped in violence for hundreds of years. They know about it. It's tragic. And actually, as a side point politically, someone said to me, well, what about American security guarantees? Can they trust them? I'll tell you what, they can trust American security guarantees under Donald Trump a lot more than they can trust security guarantees from a Europe, which is still buying Russian oil and gas. No, I think that's okay. I don't think that we're working towards World War III. Just as I didn't agree with everything that Charlie Kirk said, I wasn't a Trump supporter, but he is working, I believe, diligently to bring peace to the world. He's trying to bring down the temperature. And the only thing that my friends complain about is, well, yes, but he's giving so much away. He's trying to stop the killing. And sometimes, and I don't mean to be rude to you, Jay, but you look like a good country boy. I'm not a good country boy. I'm English. And, what you sometimes have to do is just stop things where they are. If you get into a feud, you've got to stop things where they are and let them fall. And if that means that you've been feuding over a boundary fence with a neighboring family for 100 years, you say, guess what? Let's just leave it where it is. It's not important enough. We've been killing over this. We need to stop. There's nothing wrong with that, with what Donald Trump is doing. I don't see that there's a likelihood of a world war. I think he's too committed to peace and doing business again. As far as America is concerned, I think especially with Charlie Kirk's death, I think we're in the red zone. Doesn't mean we can't get out of it, but I think that we're in a very dangerous place where there are fingers on triggers ready to pull them. I predicted that if the Democrats won the last election, there would be war. They didn't win. The Republicans won. Nothing happened. At first, I thought we missed it. I'm not sure that we have, and we will see what happens. But I think we're in a very, very dangerous spot at the moment.
When it comes to the Ukrainian arena and the train stabbing, it's a symbol of failed protection in America, a place that, you just don't think something like that can happen. With Charlie Kirk, we don't have enough time, Jeff, but the timing of the shooting, a voice like your friend Hugh Simmons, a voice that was silenced, the timing has to come under question. I mean, do you think there was any political motivation here, or is this the act of an individual?
I spent an hour on an interview last night. I'll give you the short summary.
Yeah.
I think Tyler Robinson was radicalized. He was radicalized recently. I think he was radicalized politically, but this wasn't a political assassination. It happened too quickly. It was too proficient. I think there is an entity behind the radicalization, and I think that entity is Israeli intelligence. Charlie Kirk was beginning to talk about Mossad's interference with Epstein, not about the political blackmail, but about what's in my book, which is arms dealing and money laundering. And I think there are entities who did not want that exposed. And I think that's why he was killed.
Jeffrey Gilson with us this morning. Very interesting. 2 incidents with wide-ranging implications. We're covering Charlie Kirk, Irina Zaretska. Jeffrey, thank you for being on. Great insight.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, Jake.
Have a great Monday. We got to bounce out for news. Cowboy State Daily Show continues on the other side after this.
It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming. From the Cowboy State Daily Newsroom, I'm Wendy Kaur. A long court battle may be nearing the finish line for an Oakland, California developer, Phil Tagami, who's ready to talk about what he characterizes as a last-ditch effort to delay his controversial bulk marine terminal project as the California Supreme Court decides whether to hear a final appeal. Cowboy State Daily's David Madison reports that a win for Tagami would mean opening the West Coast terminal to ship coal to Asian markets, which Wyoming thermal coal producers have been working to secure for more than 2 decades.
Phil Tagami didn't get into this to be a coal exporter. He wanted to respond to a need that he saw in the East Bay area for exporting commodities. Now, it just so happens that coal from Wyoming could be one of those commodities that comes through in a large volume if this thing ever gets off the ground. It's been 10 years of legal fights, and now he really sees maybe light at the end of the tunnel.
Wyoming coal producers and state officials continue to closely monitor Tagami's legal journey, including a ruling earlier this year that upheld a district judge's original decision in favor of the developer. A vigil was held at the state capitol on Saturday evening to remember and honor conservative political influencer Charlie Kirk and the victims of a shooting at Evergreen High School in Colorado this week. Kirk was gunned down while speaking at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah on Wednesday as part of his American Comeback Tour, which invites students to debate social and political issues. Cowboy State Daily's Jackson Walker was at the vigil.
A lot of people there were preaching a message of love and faith and peace in a time when there's a lot of struggle and a lot of violence going on in the country. People there showed open emotion. They were wearing shirts representing Charlie Kirk, and they were carrying holstered pistols. And while everyone everyone was gathered around, they broke out into a chorus of Amazing Grace right as the clouds overhead opened up and rain started coming down.
Against the backdrop of the Capitol, speakers encouraged those gathered to treat others with respect and compassion and to remain defiant against those who seek to silence their beliefs. A 6,200 cow mega dairy in Carpenter on Wyoming's Eastern Plains helps to supply Pizza Hut's cheesemaker. The Burnett family, who owns and operates the dairy, says its pioneering innovations could change the industry. Cowboy State Daily's Renee Jean took a tour of the dairy.
We always hear about how dairies are closing and struggling. And when I got there, it was this huge operation and recently opened. They started in 2004 with 600 cattle. And 3 years ago, they doubled in size to 6,000 cattle. The milk goes down to Colorado to a company called Leprino, which makes cheese for Pizza Hut. So if you've had a pizza from Pizza Hut at any point in time, you've probably eaten some Wyoming cheese.
Today, the dairy milks around 2/3 of Wyoming's 9,000 some dairy cattle. That's 6,200 cows per day, 800 every hour, and 66,400 gallons of milk every day. I'll be back with more news right after this.
The Wyoming way of life. There's nothing like it. And no financial partner like your local cooperative credit union to help you live life the way you want to. We help you save for a brighter future. Borrow for your dream home. Start your small business. We've got your finances, and you've got plans. So go ahead, pitch a tent. Head for the rodeo. Reel in a big trout. Fire up the smoker. Wyoming's credit unions are here to stay and here for you.
Something special has happened in Buffalo, New York over the past several years that's fostered a sense of kinship between two unexpected places. Thanks to Josh Allen, many Wyomingites now cheer alongside the Bills Mafia from thousands of miles away in hopes of an elusive Vince Lombardi trophy. Meanwhile, Trent Weitzel has amassed fans who came back en masse once again this year to help the Double Dubs crew bring home the festival favorite trophy for the 4th straight year. Cowboy State Daily's Anna Jackson attended the annual National Buffalo Wing Festival in Buffalo, New York over Labor Day weekend and came away with a real sense of community that she didn't expect.
I did not expect to feel kind of this emotional connection just from meeting people in Buffalo who may or may not have Wyoming connections, and then seeing how like these two careers have kind of moved in lockstep.
Allen's fame means that he can no longer casually drop into the festival to dole out wings with the Double Dubs crew, as he did in 2019. But anytime Allen wants wings when the Double Dubs truck rolls into Buffalo, Weitzel finds a way to get some to the quarterback. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by clicking on the daily newsletter button at cowboystatedaily.com. I'm Wendy Core for Cowboy State Daily.
Meet Norm. He lives with anxiety, but with the help of this latest innovation from Be Normal, he can be normal, just like everyone else. With the swipe of a finger, you can project happiness, confidence, machismo. Why settle for being real when you can be normal? The Normal Maker. New from Be Normal. This item doesn't really work because there's no such thing as normal. We're all different. What we like, how our brains work. In fact, 1 in 5 of us live with mental illness. Don't filter who you are. Start by talking to someone you trust. And remember, there is no normal.
Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake. Let's get Dale in here and have some serious discussion instead of this talk of license plate making. Dale, earlier this morning, I was saying that prisoners should be making license plates again and maybe we wouldn't be running out of them. But a lot of people don't like the new license plate. Do you have the new dark blue, black one?
I do. I don't like it either.
Yeah, I don't like it. I have the University of Wyoming license plate just because I don't like the state plates, but yeah, so you got one, and you're stuck with it for 8 years if you're going to be in Wyoming that long.
Really? 8 years? Wow.
That's years. Yeah. Your story about this young lady, she reminds me of Amelia Earhart, this 20-year-old Sheridan woman, early 1930s. Remember, women didn't do stuff in 1931 that didn't involve the kitchen, Dale. They were like cooking and waiting on the man. And this woman was seen driving. Can you imagine seeing this blonde hair in the wind driving from Berlin to Moscow? She must have turned some heads. This story, I would have never guessed anyone would uncover it, except you, Dale, who you read old newspapers. This Sheridan woman, tell us about her 1931 car trip, I guess on a whim. She wasn't an influencer. She wasn't trying to prove anything. She just drove a car from Berlin to Moscow.
Yeah, her dad was a mining engineer, and so he had gotten a job in Russia. And I don't know if she was going to meet him or what exactly the circumstances were, but so she drives a car, and we don't know what kind of car it was, except we know that she sold a Packard later that decade. But she drove a car from Berlin to Moscow. Took them a week, and according to a story from the end of her life, these two German guys, both of them infatuated with her. Neither of them wanted the other one to go with her alone. They accompanied her. And so they had an American flag and a German flag, and they drove from Berlin. And think about this, this is when Adolf Hitler is trying to come to power. He's not going to come to power for a couple of years yet, but after the war and kind of a depression in Germany. And then she goes into Russia, where, the communist revolution has taken place just a decade earlier, and Joseph Stalin is trying to aggregate all his power. So she drives from Berlin through Poland, and they had issues in Poland because of the German flag. The Poles hated the Germans, so they had to sleep out by the road, and one of the guys had a pistol with him to protect them. Then they get to the Polish-German border, and there was a no man's land, and there's no road there, but apparently a Polish officer accompanied them. And so they're driving along the railroad tracks, to get to the border, where at the Russian border, their pistol is confiscated, but then they're allowed to drive through, and they go in through these peasant villages and probably, farms, collective farms, where I know, because I've been in Russia back in the day, that people didn't have a whole lot, and so they stop at this farm, and they find this guy at the manager of the farm gives them 24 eggs and butter, and these peasants haven't seen that before, and they scramble up eggs. And so they stayed in haystacks, and they have this egg dinner that really all these peasants are probably drooling because they have eggs and butter, and able to eat breakfast. And then she drives on, and makes it all the way into Moscow, which is just an incredible feat, a courageous thing for a 20-year-old woman to do, for sure.
Yeah, Joan Platt may be an influencer at her time. The headlines read in the New York Times, July 21st, 1931, girl autoists dash amazes Russians to find no road or a crummy road. Being a Sheridan, Wyoming girl who probably drove in Wyoming in the late 20s or early 30s, that was no problem. Who needs a road?
That's what I thought. She said the roads were worse than those in Wyoming, but
wow. That's saying something.
Yeah, it wasn't anything that scared her, for sure.
Unbelievable. She didn't go on to marry either of those German guys who were infatuated with her. She married somebody else, but what a start to a life. She did more at the age of 20 than most women did for their whole life. That's pretty neat. Joan, I'm never going to forget that. Joan Platt. Your story, I knew of this story. I have looked into it. I want to say I wrote something about it once, but maybe I didn't. But that Fremont Canyon Bridge, this horrible story about the sisters kidnapped, thrown from the bridge. Recap this for those of us who didn't know anything about it. It happened 5 decades ago.
Yeah, it happened in 1973. And it's just a terrible story. It's a story that, people have called it a wound, and it is, it's something that's so horrific that people just don't forget about it. It takes a long time to forget about it. But this happened in 1973. Two girls, one 18, they're half sisters, the other one 11. They go to a store sent there to buy some stuff by their mom. These two, I don't know what you want to call them, two criminals, they slash at the tire of the car to create a need. They kidnap the two girls. They take them out to by the reservoirs in Alcova and to this bridge that's more than 100 feet. I don't know if it's 110 or 120, but it's way above the North Platte River. They rape one of the girls. The other one they throw off the bridge first. They rape the 18-year-old, throw her off, and somehow, miraculously, she survives, spends a night just trying to hold on until the dawn, is found by a couple driving to go fishing, and that starts a manhunt for these two guys. And once the cops get the descriptions, they identify these two guys right away, and they catch them right away. They are tried, convicted, and sent. And the 18-year-old, she held on. Ron Francel wrote a book about it, and she held on, because she wanted to nail these guys, and so she very courageously testifies. These guys are convicted and sentenced to death. And then a few years later, the Wyoming Supreme Court turned it into life sentences. They overturned the death penalty. And so there's still one of these guys still alive. But the young lady, Becky, she just was troubled. I talked to a good friend of hers, and when she hit 37, she just had struggles in her life. On the outside, she was all, bubbly, and people wouldn't know that she was really still struggling with this event. And then when she was 37 years old, she went out to that bridge and she fell or jumped into the river. Nobody knows for sure, but her life was lost at that point. So you go to the cemetery here in Casper and you see this tombstone that says sisters, and you see these two lives, and I don't know, it's just so, to me, it's still moving. And the people, that I've heard talk about it and responded to a Cowboy State Daily story a year ago when they were bungee jumping off the bridge, and there was a lot of people upset about that. So it's still a wound, in Casper from those who lived through it back in 1973.
Yeah, it's funny that we make this bridge, the memorial, such a symbolic thing, but it is. It's a wound that a lot of people in Casper don't like scratched. You want to remember and honor the sisters, the victims, but boy, the city of Casper and most residents would sooner forget that incident. And it's just so disappointing that this one sister, maybe there's no amount of mental help that gets you well after something like that, but for her to go back to that bridge, I mean, that's Hollywood story kind of stuff. I
know it's just terrible to contemplate, and you just really feel sorry for her and for what she had to go through in her life.
Yeah. That one other story, Dale, that you had, do we know anything more? I mean, we can sort of connect the dots. There was a 5-hour standoff in Mills. Law enforcement's trying to serve a warrant. And then there's one shot fired, and the cops said it wasn't us who shot him. And then that's all we know. I mean, we can kind of see where this one headed.
Yeah, we can kind of see where it went, but the cops are not saying anything. DCI is now investigating because there was 3 different police agencies involved in the standoff. They weren't, and so DCI is investigating the whole thing, and they're not saying anything. But yeah, there was one shot fired. I went to the scene the next day, and there was a second-story window. A guy was fixing it. It had been broken, and the door to the building where the standoff happened, there was plywood over the front door. So we assumed that, there was some police activity that way. But they said police did not fire any shots at all.
Okay. All right. What are you working on this week, Dale, other than trying to get out of that new license plate? You should get I got a University of Wyoming plate. It's the old gold ones. It's cool.
Okay, yeah, I might go that way, Jake.
Yeah.
I could do that. So I don't know. I've got a list of stories. I'm just going to try and dig in. I don't know if I want to reveal anything because I don't know if they're going to come through.
Right. People will say, "Where was that story, Dale?
Where are you doing with that story?" So, but hopefully they'll be interesting. So we'll see.
You've done enough work for the month. You take a couple weeks off.
Hey, thank you, Jake. I'll take that.
All right. Have a great Monday. Cowboy State Daily Show with Dale Killingback. He has that story, his history story about the bridge where the two Casper sisters both met their death. One during the crime of September 25th, 1973, and one that could just never forget it, suffering obviously from some kind of post-traumatic disorder, returned to the scene of that crime where her sister was killed and likely jumped off the bridge herself. Oh, just tragic. Fremont Canyon Bridge. It was last year that an outfit came and did some bungee jumping off that bridge, and they were from out of state. They didn't know the history. And people from Casper are like, no, you don't do that on this bridge. They'll never forget it. This is 52 years later. And a lot of people in Casper never forgot the tragedy. I mean, it's best to just tear that bridge down at this point. And what it represents, just horrific. Dale Killingback also with the story about Joan Platt, who drove a trip that today would take about 17, 18 hours, Berlin to Moscow. Took her about a week back in 1931. And it also took the world by surprise. A New York Times headline saying female motorist drives to Russia. She knew how to speak some Russian, so what a interesting story about that Sheridan woman who drove from Germany to Russia in 1931. Incredible. Good stories. Thank you, Dale. And let's take one quick break. I'm coming right
to the
back.
Teton Range, Cheyenne to Sheridan, Rawlins to Ralston. Cowboy State Daily Morning Show covers the state like no other radio show or podcast. We love Lovell. We're eager to share the stories of Story Will Crow About Crowheart and Yodel Over Yoder. Whether you make your home in Sweetwater, Chugwater, Powder River, or Green River, the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show will make you feel right at home. Jeffrey City, Atlantic City, we see you. Little America, Big Piney, you're on our radar. Howdy, Wapiti, Meeteetse, Shoshone, Tent Sleep, good morning, welcome, Torrington, Riverton, Wheatland, Lusk, Lingle, Lander, Timber, Casey, Kerwin, Moorcroft, Mountain View, Moose, Fort Bridger, Fort Laramie, Fort Washington, Hannah, Hudson, Hewlett, Dayton, Daniel, and DuBois. We are east of Weston, west of Midwest, north of Newcastle, and south of Sundance. Border to border, we love Wyoming and every one of its communities, bar none.
This is the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
Nestled between Casper Mountain and the North Platte River, you'll find the heart of Wyoming, with a bustling downtown centered around our outdoor haven. Casper is for adventurers, freedom seekers, and rule breakers who find beauty off the beaten path. So if touchable history, a vibrant community, and uninterrupted outdoor recreation define your travel itinerary, allow us to welcome you to the one and only Casper, Wyoming. Plan your trip at visitcasper.com.
All right, look at you taking the stairs. Who are you?
We're your lungs. We are proud of you for quitting smoking, but you still may be at risk for lung cancer.
A routine cancer scan can detect it early when it's more curable. Good to know. Well, I gotta go somewhere.
So do we.
Listen to your lungs. Get a routine screening that could save your life. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org.
I think I finally found.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Mason.
Hey, Mason.
Got a new house. It's looking pretty cool so far. A place that I call home.
I'm teaching Louise how to cook some lasagna.
It only takes a spark to make a fire start.
It does.
Thank you.
Study, please.
I think I finally found a place to make my own. A place that I call home. This place that I call home.
Back to the show on a Monday. Jake with you on the Cowboy State Daily Show. This story from space.com. The headline confuses me. Are you confused? I don't know. The race to the moon. What if China lands its astronauts first? Both the United States and China are working to put astronauts on the moon in the next few years, with NASA's acting administrator claiming that America will win the, quote, race. But what happens, this story speculates, if it's China that gets there first? Come on, you're thinking like I'm thinking, right? I mean, we're together on this. Didn't we already get to the moon? Why are we reinventing the wheel? Why the race to land on the moon? Been there, done that, and bought the Hollywood t-shirt. This must be driven by the people who think we really never got there. The conspiracy theorists who believe that the whole moon landing was shot in a Hollywood studio lot. It was all to get there before the Russians. We already did the race to the moon, and it was so important to beat Russia there that we faked it. Now it's really important to get there before China. Do we just fake it again? Am I missing something with this story? I swear it's a real story. I did Snopes it. I fact-checked it. The race to land an astronaut on the moon is underway. It's China against the U.S. And the NASA acting administrator claims he's already stuck his flag in the moon. He says, we'll get there first. We'll beat China there. NASA plans to launch its Artemis 2 mission to send astronauts around the moon and back early next year. That will follow up with the Artemis 3 crewed moon landing in 2027. Again, is this story from 80 years ago? NASA promises to put a man on the moon by 2027. I thought we did that. And I thought we did it in what? 1967. So this is, do the math. First man on the moon, which is now listed as fake news by Siri. Apollo 11, 1969. So what's the math there? If this is, people probably already have the answer that know how to do math in their head. I don't know how to do math in my head. I need calculators. 2027. Oh, crap. 202. What is wrong with this calculator? I'm having trouble with my calculator. Dang it. What's 2027 minus 1969? 2027 minus, people are already telling me the answer on Facebook, but I don't trust their math. All right, 58 years after we supposedly were on the moon, maybe we weren't. Armstrong, didn't he step on the moon? And Buzz Aldrin, one guy didn't get to go. Oh, that guy. He's like the original drummer of the Beatles. You're like, you idiot. You went all the way to the moon and you weren't allowed to get out. You had to babysit the rocket. Oh, that would suck. That's like being the guy in the first Beatles drummer who said, I don't think these guys are going anywhere. And then Pete Best comes in and you're like, oh. And you watch the Beatles have like 5 jillion hits. Yeah, you're the original Beatles drummer, lost to history. If you were the third dude on Apollo 11 who didn't get this, I don't even know who it is because I can't remember. All we know is the one guy who had the great quote, he was working on that before he even took off from Cape Canaveral. Neil Armstrong was like, what would be a good quote that I can say? Oh, one small step for man. Neil Armstrong, first guy to put a boot on the moon. And he probably test marketed the quote. How do you think this will play? He had that already. There's no way he just thought that up. And then Buzz Aldrin was the dude right behind him. Buzz, I think, brought his golf clubs. And he hit a golf ball on the moon. So one guy was the first, Michael Collins. He's the guy nobody remembers because he had to babysit the space capsule. Right? Lunar landing, launched July 16th, splashdown July 24th. So on July something, they stepped on the moon. Everybody, the two guys, except for Michael Collins, who had to make sure the space capsule, where's it going to go? It's not like it was orbiting. They landed, right? And they stepped out. Why couldn't Collins come out? He was that close. Even if Houston told you, what if Houston said, where's my voice thing?
Michael Collins, this is Houston ground control. Under no circumstances do you leave the capsule. Do not, we repeat, do not set foot on the moon.
Well, so what? If you're Michael Collins, I would have said, what are they going to do? Houston's a long way from the moon. I would have went down the ladder. I mean, the ship's parked. Apollo 11 just sitting there idling on the moon. It's not going to fall off the moon or fly out. There's no gravity. Oh, there's no gravity. Bingo. That's why he couldn't leave. There was nothing holding him down. Okay, I get it. Well, this is why I'm not a rocket scientist. Apollo 11 would have floated away. Can you imagine Michael Collins when to come down the ladder if he said, oh, no, I come this far. I've got to see what it's like on the moon. I got to see if it's really made of cheese. And Michael Collins comes up to Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin and says, hey, boys, isn't this incredible? We're on the moon. Let's take a selfie. And Buzz and Neil would go, hey, wait a minute. If you're here, who's watching the ship? Well, nobody. It's parked. Yeah, but there's no gravity, Einstein. Oh, crap. And the Apollo 11 floats away off the moon. And them three guys are stuck there. Okay, now I see. Duh, Michael. This is why you got to be there. Making sure the ship stays down on the moon. Duh. Anyway, why Why is the race to get back to the moon? What, did I miss something? I thought we were trying to get to Mars. Elon Musk is trying to create a new world on Mars. When we wreck our world, we're going to need to live on Mars. I thought the moon is like old news. The moon's so yesterday. We already stopped there. We walked around, and there's nothing to see. I mean, it looks like Rock Springs. If Sweetwater County wants to take up new life on the moon, they'll feel right at home. But the rest of us, moon is not all that. And we left it. We said, okay, been there, done that. Let's go to Mars. Let's go to the other planets. Find one better. Because the moon's kind of just dusty. But now there's a race to get back to the moon. Space.com says, what if China lands astronauts first on the moon? Well, you won't be first. We already got there. And we did it like a long time ago. Hello, China. Welcome to the party. A little late. NASA Administrator Jim Bridenstine said, unless something changes, it's highly unlikely the United States will beat China's projected timeline. Again, Jim, I don't know what kind of taxpayer money you're wasting trying to beat China to the moon, but I could save you a dime. We already been there. Did you read the newspapers from 1969? Been there. And China can dance around all it wants, do a victory dance for getting there now. But where were they back in? Yeah, I don't understand why we're racing to the moon. But I do now understand why Michael Collins couldn't get out of the spaceship. Whew, thank goodness he stayed in that thing or would have floated off. All right, let's do this day in history, then a rodeo break. Then I have one final guest. This day, September 15th, 1885, Governor Warren requested federal troops that he sent to Rock Springs last week be withdrawn from that town. Apparently, everything cooled down. This is the white miners from Rock Springs, and they didn't like the Chinese miners, and they went at it. And the big Chinese massacre, Rock Springs State, the governor, F.E. Warren, called in troops, federal troops. He asked for assistance. And this day in history, he said, all right, things seem to be quelled, took them out. 1904 this day, this was at the height. Well, maybe not the height, but it was still continuing into the 1900s, this cattlemen against sheepmen. Johnson County Wars. Sheep and sheepmen were not well received in the Cowboy state. That's for sure. 1904, on this day, 1,000 sheep were disemboweled by masked raiders in one of the raids during the sheep wars that occurred near Daniel, Wyoming. Gross. 1,000 sheep disemboweled. 1966, this day, Wyoming Public Radio goes on the air. Happy birthday, WPR. They're probably blowing out the candles over there on WPR right now. I don't know. I'm not listening in. I'm doing my own radio thing. But this day, 1966, WPR first turned on the switch that put them on the air. And in this day, 2010, in Cheyenne, fire heavily damages the Hitching Post Hotel. The landmark was just a week away from reopening after extensive renovations. It was later reported the fire was arson. It happened on this day in history. Let's rodeo, Western Ag Network and the Rodeo Roadshow.
It's the Rodeo Roadshow on the Western Ag Network. Hi, everybody. I'm Will Rasmussen. Over the weekend, the world-famous Pendleton Roundup. Almost everybody's favorite rodeo because of the atmosphere, the grass, the size of the stadium, the heritage, and the tradition. And a whole lot of money for the cowboys and girls. We'll check the winners of the Pendleton Roundup on the Roadshow coming up next.
CattleCon 2026 heads to the heart of Nashville, February 3rd to the 5th. Music City is the place to be for the largest cattle industry event of the year, offering education, networking, and fun. Plus, you can check out the huge NCBA trade show, outstanding entertainment, and more. Go where the beef industry meets. CattleCon 2026 in Music City, downtown Nashville, February 3rd to the 5th. Visit convention.ncba.org for more.
Be part of something bigger. Join the American Sheep Industry Association today. Producers who join their state sheep association automatically gain ASI membership and access to national resources and representation. If your state doesn't have an association, no worries. You can still sign up individually at sheepusa.org and stay connected to the future of the industry. Your voice matters. Your membership counts. Again, learn more at sheepusa.org.
In the bareback riding event, Jacek Frost from Browns Valley, California, who is on the bubble in the bareback riding, close to qualifying for his first national finals rodeo, wins the bareback riding title. Dylan Hancock went to his first NFR last year, the San Angelo, Texas man on his way again. Bailey Patterson from Pendleton, Oregon, wins the breakaway roping event. The hometown lady, what a thrill. In the saddle bronc riding event, Q Taylor, Nanton, Alberta, Canada, the saddle bronc riding champion. He's on the bubble too. We'll watch. And speaking of on the bubble, steer wrestler Stetson Jorgensen, Blackfoot, Idaho, at last glance before the Pendleton Roundup was 17 in the world. He moves inside the top 15 in the steer wrestling as the Pendleton Roundup champion. Braden Schmidt from Benton City, Washington, and Jaden Warner from Tropic, Utah win the team roping event. Jordan Wasey Spears from Redding, California was at number 12 in the bull riding. Not anymore. He wins the bull riding event at Pendleton. And Taylor Moykins, looking to go to her first NFR from Three Forks, Montana, wins the barrel racing event. Pendleton, Oregon. Wow. On the Western Ag Network, I'm Will Rasmussen.
Back to the studio. Cowboy State Daily Morning Show with Jay continues.
Yes, it does. We continue. Sean Fry will be with us in a moment. He's the author of a book called Work Smart, Not Scared: How to Stay Grounded When the Economy Isn't. It'll be good advice, welcome advice from Sean Fry. He'll be our guest in just a moment. I also want to get to that Wyoming dairy farm. Yeah, dairy. And it's gigantic. Way to go, Burnett's. We're going to talk about that as well. First, we got to take a break, our one final break of the morning on the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
Wyoming is the cowboy state. From corner to corner, there are so many stories to be told, and more cowboys and cowgirls are turning to the Cowboy State Daily News team to keep them in touch with what's happening both locally and in other parts of Wyoming. I'm Riley Strand, videographer and production assistant for Cowboy State Daily Video News. We're proud to bring the most important stories to our viewers every day. The stories that start conversations, the stories that make us laugh, the stories that make us think. Our experienced journalists at Cowboy State Daily are crisscrossing the state every day, talking to those who know the news best. Every day, host Wendy Core and I talk to the reporters who are covering the topics, issues, and people that are important to Wyomingites. And in our daily newscast, we bring you those stories. Tune into the Cowboy State Daily Video Newscast every morning, only on CowboyStateDaily.com.
You're listening to the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
Wyoming is a place of unlimited potential, a place that inspires us to dream. Since 2014, Wyo Lotto has given back over $180 million to our great state through transfers, winnings, commissions, and more. Dollars that have gone directly into your cities, towns, and counties. Dollars that have changed lives and set dreams in motion. Thank you, Wyoming, for a legendary 10 years. We can't wait to dream up what's next.
the mighty might not see it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. You may not even know you have it, but you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand. With early diagnosis, you can change the outcome and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.
So I wanted to talk with you and your mom today, Lily, because of some of the changes your friends and teachers have seen in you lately. And along with the incident the other day, you were with Derek when he was caught selling marijuana.
Yeah, he was selling it.
Honey, we know. But we care about you and want to know what's going on.
That's right. We'd like to understand it better and see how we might help. And if weed is a part of it, we want to make sure you know about the negative consequences for someone your age. So, can we talk?
Talk. They hear you.
Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake on a Monday edition. I apologize for Monday, but I got nothing to do with it. It's a Monday, and we're making the best of it, though. Sean Fry joins us. Sean, your video is not on. Is that intentional? It's fine with me if that's how you... Oh, there you are.
Hey.
What are you doing?
Good morning, Jake.
You got a Monday going where you are, too?
We sure do.
Yeah.
We sure do.
All right. We're going to learn how to make the best of a Monday. We're going to learn how to make the best of your life, especially when we're in tumultuous times. I mean, economy. Work smart, not scared. How to stay grounded when the economy isn't. I just read something the other day, Sean, that said some states, including Wyoming, are already in a recession, what would be considered a recession. So I don't know if we're headed there. Some experts say yes. It's certainly a sketchy time to be launching a business or looking for work. I mean, I don't know, but it's okay. You can do it at any time. You're going to recession-proof your business and your life. How do you do it, Sean? Where do we start?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, right? And first of all, thank you for inviting me to be a part of the show. Excellent. Watched a few episodes in the past and really learned quite a bit and some unique insights here, especially what type of watch to wear, right? But anyway, so where do you start, right? So I think it really starts with your big why, right? What are you really trying to accomplish? What's your purpose? How do you, what's those objectives and how do you measure success, right? So I think that's where it really all starts is being, that clarity of purpose, objectives, how am I going to measure success, no matter what economy, no matter where I'm at, no matter what I'm dealing with, right? So, and that could relate to just about anybody, any business, even families and kids and sports, right? So it could, relate to just about anybody.
Now, whether we're working a salary job for someone, I don't know if that makes a difference. If we have this idea about a startup, we're part of the gig economy. I don't know. Whatever we're doing, most of us are guilty of being just reactionary. We're just trying to keep our head above water. We got, health insurance. We got all these things happening, and then we react. How do we get ahead of it?
Yeah. So quick story, right? So I was in the middle of turning around a flawed business model several years ago, thinking I was making a difference. The throughput, the demand was dramatically increasing. I've also done that on the other side where it decreased, and how do you make changes quickly? But turning around that flawed business model and working 70, 80 hours a week, my youngest son came up to me and really gave me a gut check. He said, "Dad, where do you live?" And so that was really kind of like a punch to the gut, if you will, and just really a wake-up call for me to figure out a better way, right? So how do I work smarter instead of harder? How do I, really leverage the total team versus me trying to do everything? How do I get better at determining who should be doing certain priorities and tasks, and where do I really add the most value where do I, need to focus my time on? So I think that's really key, is that understanding what are the critical things that have to happen in the midst of crisis, and then who's the best person to do that work. So.
We're talking to Sean Fry, brings us unique insight on how to navigate it's always a weird time. Is it ever like a perfect time with the economy? No. Sean, help me. I am darn close to suffering burnout. I do this gig in the morning. As soon as I'm done here, I got to go DJ a wedding that happens all night tonight. And then I got a third job that I got to get rid. I'm going hard, man. I'm going 9-0, and I'm afraid of burnout, because if you take that to work with you, that attitude of I'm spent, I'm done, you might be the first person to get laid off when the economy gets bad. How do we prevent burnout? Well, let's just start there.
Yeah, that is such a hard one, right? Because those that are truly motivated, they're going after the best they can every day. It's easy to get burned out, right? Especially in the midst of all that's got to happen in today's world. So in the book, I wrote a book. It's called Sustained Business Growth. I went, spoke to about 15 different experts, tried to capture my experiences in, turnaround situations in 60 facilities, 17 different countries, 4 different industries. And so I tried to distill it down into what I would call an emotional intelligence perfect day routine, right? So thinking about, how do I define my perfect day, that prevents me from burning out, but I'm still effective, and I don't sacrifice my health, and I don't sacrifice those around me. So in that perfect day routine, I really just talk about mindset first. I've got to have the right mindset. I think 80 to 90% of winning is really mindset, and just really getting myself in the right place to make sure I'm thinking exactly where I need to be healthy. And what's my true north, right? So what's my purpose? What's my calling? What am I trying to accomplish? How do I measure success? And then really health, right? So thinking about, for me to lead well, I've got to make sure that I'm healthy. So I've got to make sure that I'm eating right. I've got enough sleep. I've got enough, I'm alert. I'm paying attention to self-awareness around me and the impact that I'm having on others. So I think that diet and exercise balance, and that could be different for different people, right? But it's just what works for you to help you be your peak, performance. So, and then really focusing on that purposeful work, right? So blocking out time, right? So I think just really defining what's the priorities, make sure and guard that time, right? So how do I schedule that time on my calendar every day, purposeful work, at least 3 hours of where it is just focused. This is where I add the most value. This is where I get things done. This is where I can really move the needle the most and protect that time. After that, it's really just networking, right? So who's the right people that I've got to be connecting with, that's going to really help the overall mission, the goals, objectives, and those that really may be the experts in certain areas, and how am I leveraging that network as well as adding value to them, right? And then naturally, family time. So for me, family is extremely important. So I want to make sure and guard that time, in the afternoons, evenings, wherever possible. I travel a lot, so I have to really get creative and think about, how do I do that? But whether that's different forms of communication or just being present. Earlier, when my kids were younger, it was just, how do I be there for their games or their special occasions and things like that. So just being present, available, and there to help. So that's for me, just thinking about my perfect day routine. That doesn't describe everything, but that's part of it. So I think that clarity. Yeah.
Yeah, Sean, it sounds like you just hit the bullet points of my next question that's on my note card. If I'm like David Letterman back in the day and I have the note cards, I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to ask him, what are your 7 powerful principles and perfect day routine? Was that the 7? Did you just go through that?
So I talk about 7 powerful principles that I learned from, those experts, as well as my journey throughout different transformations. That's what I wrote the book on. But how to do that tactically on a daily level is where that perfect day routine comes in. So I can definitely touch base on some of the, the principles, that's captured in the book. And again, peak state of mind, clarity of communication, who's my audience, what's important to them, how do I make sure that I'm communicating clearly to them at their point where they are in their journey, the goals and objectives, and how do I engage others, right? So how do I really truly tap into the right people at the right time to engage them to achieve the mission, right? So those are 3 to 4 principles that I talk about in the book. There's several others, but those are, that perfect day routine just helps you take that on a daily basis and tactically apply that.
There's more. There's 7 total principles, and you can do the deep dive in the book. We don't want to give too much away. Sustained Business Growth by Sean Fry. Look for it. How to lead radical change, overcome adversity, and ignite explosive growth without sacrificing those who matter most. Maybe you or the wife or whatever it is. Are you practicing what you preach, Sean? How have you got to where you feel you're successful? What are some top things you can share with us that make us believe we should be listening to you?
Yeah, hey, so that's a great question. For me personally, I had to write down that daily routine, that perfect day, and literally hold myself accountable to that.
Yeah.
Am I perfect to that? By no means, right? So I continue to because I love to go after many different things, but I have to really focus, and just really make sure I'm focused in the right areas, and allowing enough time for my wife, my family, and others. So definitely applying that myself. I'm not perfect by any means, though. So I honestly have, told my wife, "Hey, look, keep me in check. I wrote a book about it. Help me hold myself accountable to this." So she definitely doesn't hesitate to let me know when I'm not, quite following some of those principles. So, but that's how I'm currently doing it. I am, trying to strive to achieve that perfect day routine and excellence every day.
Now you've been at it for many years. You've traveled the world, 17 countries. Let me ask you this. I don't know if this is off topic, but Americans, every poll I've seen, Americans are like hardworking. We just going at it, man. 8-hour day is only the beginning. We're doing 70-hour weeks, man. We're working. Where you hear other countries, the Europeans take a whole month off for vacation. In some Latin American countries, they siesta in the middle of the day for like 3 hours. Like, is this just pointless minutia work? Are we just toiling for nothing? Like, how do Americans stack up with our work, and is it productive? And are we really asking ourselves, what do we call success?
Yeah. So that's really good points. So how we stack up against other countries, right? So, and this is just Sean Fry's experience, right? So
yeah.
Just my experience, limited. I've been across many different places, but I think, in some countries, there's other people that work 16, 18 hours a day, crazy times, going to school, crazy times. So there's some other countries that are really burning the midnight oil and rising early too. So Americans, and it just depends on where we're at in America, right? So some Americans are extremely hardworking, right? Every single day up, before the crack of dawn, late into the evening. But I think we do have to ask our question, how do we define success? What does that really mean to us? And are we really productive, right? Because we can be busy. Goodness knows I've done that, right? I've done all kind of stuff. And man, I did some great stuff today, but was it really productive, right? Was it really meaningful? And was it moving me towards, my true north and my main objectives where I feel like I'm called to be, right? So not all of that work is always taking us to those, to that place. It could be just busy work at times. So we really just have to really question ourselves. How do I measure success? Is the activities that I'm doing truly moving the needle, or is it just busy work in some cases? And I can definitely see that across different places. So I think activity does not always mean productivity. So I think I would just really kind of mention that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does. We're talking to Sean Fry, highly accomplished, results-driven leader, change agent for 25-plus years experience. Talk to the leaders. We're almost out of time. Sean, one last thing. This book and your message really is sent to like managers, whether it's middle level management, whatever. If you're a leader of a company, and it can be, Ford, or it can be a small little startup, leadership is important. Managing your business in weird economic times. Is there a lot to take away in this book for someone like that?
Yeah. So just some of the reviews was some of the reviews I got was basically, hey, they love the practical experience, right? It's not just theoretical stuff. This is how to apply it on the front lines, no matter where you're at, right? It could be a large corporation, could be mid-sized, could be a startup business, could be a family, right? Could be a stay-at-home mom in some cases, right? Mm-hmm. But I think it's just that radical focus of what's most important. And thinking about how am I learning every day? How am I empowering and collaborating with those that may have went beyond me and learning from them? And decision velocity, something I've found that the best leaders, they're really good at making decisions in a timely fashion, right? So they take the right amount of information, not too much, but enough to really make the right decisions intuitively and move forward faster. So I think that's just a couple lessons from the book.
We're going to grab the book if you can. Sustain Business Growth. Click purchase. Where do we find you online if we want to learn more, Sean?
Yeah, so you can go to www.sustainbusinessgrowth.com. There's some free resources there as well. Or you can go straight to Amazon and look up Sustain Business Growth. Thank you.
Sounds good. I appreciate you being on this Monday.
No, thank you. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and I wish you all the best.
Have a great day, great week. Sean Fry of the Cowboy State Daily to wrap us up for a Monday. Sustain business growth. Business leaders, frontline managers, agents of change, and just somebody trying to run a family in this day and age. You could learn a lot from the book, Sustain Business Growth by Sean Fry. It's going to wrap it up for us for today. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, on the Cowboy State Daily Show with Jake.
Good morning. This is the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show with Jake. The new way Wyoming wakes up.